Chapter 11, Evolving Monsters. Translator's Corner, Cast, an English clown and French Pierrot. Clown, Remura was so evil last chapter. Setting up wire traps and arrow slits, and manipulating the enemy into certain death. How terrifying. Pierrot, meh, could have been worse. For example, why didn't Remura try to coat the arrows in paralysis breath? Just imagine all those wolves falling down motionless only to be surrounded and slaughtered by the goblins. Clown, well then, master strategist, how would you have dealt with the goblin fortification? Pierrot, set it on fire, of course. That, or try to gas them out. Though the best option by far would be to cut off their supplies and starve them out. Time is one's worst enemy during a siege. Clown, I see. Pierrot, speaking of time, have you even started drawing a banner with both of us on it? Clown, huh? Yeah. Totally. Like, it's almost done. Yep. Pierrot, you suck at lying. Clown, is it the time for the daily joke? Alright, here's one. What animal keeps the best time? A watchdog. Empowerment Arc. Chapter 11, Evolving Monsters. The wolves are showing no intentions to move. This could be bad. Are they planning on rushing at me with a death rather than servitude? Like hell. Then it'd become total war. They have no chance of victory, but we also wouldn't come out unscathed. Having come this far without injury, we'd definitely win, but I'd rather avoid further combat. Compared to earlier noise, an eerie silence fills the battlefield. The Fang wolves have all focused their sight on me. I slowly began to move. I don't know how they'll react to what I'm about to do, but this is at least necessary for them to recognize the death of their leader. I approached the leader's corpse. No one moved to stop me. Nearby wolves took a step back. And then, I devoured the wolf leader using predation. That much is the right of the victor. Analysis has been completed. Ability to mimic the Fang wolves has been acquired. Species-specific skills supreme sense of smell, telepathic communication, coercion have been acquired. Great sage reported in my mind. Alright. These guys, though they've just seen their leader eaten, they aren't moving a muscle. Totally thought that they'd either run away in panic or grovel in fear if I went this far. Oh, right. I did say servitude or death. Damn it, adrenaline rushed to my head, and this is the result. Well, only one thing to do. I guess I'll give them a way out. With that thought, I mimicked the Fang wolf. And Guru, Yuuuuun. While activating coercion, I howled out. Kukuku. Hear me. I'll let you off the hook this once. Those who would not obey, leave now. So I declared to the wolves. With this, even these mutts should have the courage to run. Or so I thought. We as one, shall follow you. They responded and knelt before me. Though honestly, they really look just like bunch of tired, sleepy dogs. In any case, they seem to have chosen servitude. So, when they were motionless, they were busy discussing this. And with that, the battle of the goblin village had concluded. Or so I'd like to say, but it wasn't over yet. What came after, reconciliation and repairs, was far harder than the fight itself. Who the hell ordered this house to be destroyed, and the like? What to do next? And, what to use for the goblins' beds? And, who'll walk the dogs? Though many of them had died, there are still about 80 remaining. About that, well, let's just say the day is done. Leave all the thinking for tomorrow. Thus for now, I ordered the dogs to stand by, and went to rest by the goblins' bonfire. Thus came morning. I thought all night, and finally came up with. Make the goblins look after the Fang wolves. Plan. The goblin fighting force number 74 members. No casualties from the battle. There were some scratches, but that's the extent of their injuries. Of the dogs, 81 remain. There were many injured, but with immediate treatment, they have begun recovery. Even without further meddling, they'll heal nicely. That's how potent their recovery ability is. After waking up, I had the goblins line up. The kids and elderly wanted to sneak a peek, but with no houses around, they really stood out. The village chief was waiting by my side. He seems to intend to take care of me, which is nice and all, but there's no way I'd be happy getting an old goblin's attention. That much is dictated by my aesthetic sense. That is, no matter how many times I reincarnate as a monster, my tastes I shall not yield. And, as cute things don't exist in this village, so I'll just have to give up for now. Then, I lined up the wolves in front of the goblins. Now, then. So, guys. From now on, I'll have you become a pair and proceed together. I wait for their reaction. However, showing no intention of making noise, they simply await further instructions. No one seems particularly repulsed by the notion. This is going good, so far. You get what I said, right? Make a group, 1 goblin and 1 wolf. When I said that, the goblins and wolves sat by each other and exchanged glances. And Gaga. Please take care of me. Gao. Likewise. Is how quickly they got along. This is the yesterday's enemy is today's friend type of thing, I guess. And that's when I got the thought. They are nameless, aren't they? Calling out to them would be really inconvenient. And while glancing at the goblin-wolf pair, Chief, it's really inconvenient to get your attention. So, I was thinking of giving you names. Would that be fine? Every head turned to me, and every eye focused on me, when I said that line. The same was true even for the civilians. Wow, would you really bestow such honor on us? The head asked, overcome by awe. What's with this excitement? Yeah. If it's okay with you, I was planning on giving you names. The moment I finished the sentence, as if they were all holding their breath, the goblins shouted for joy. What's up with them? The situation is basically, great XCIT meant. If they wanted names this much, they should have just come up with ones. That's how carefree I was then. Let's start with the chief. First, I asked for his son's name. It was Rigur. And so, I named the chief Rigurdo. Not that the name had any specific meaning, I just thought it sounded good. Were his son around, I'd call out to him, Rigur, and the chief would reply, do. When I said that as a joke, he suddenly got very serious. Moreover, to have been honored with the name of my son, please permit these tears of gratitude. How much he exaggerates. To give him a name on a whim kind of makes me feel guilty. But, oh well. And the feeling went away. Continuing, the goblin leader will succeed his brother's name. I could add the 2nd to it, but it sounds like a pain. So, he's now Rigur. And when he's called such, he falls prostrate as if praying to me. Really, these guys take things too seriously, like father, like son, I guess. And while I'm at it, might as well go through the parent-child groups first. Then, I named the single goblins and the orphans. I wonder if they guys will continue reusing these names in the future. With the birth of a grandchild, the chief will probably be called Rigurdodo. And with a great-grandchild, the infant will be called Rigur and the chief Rigurdododo. Seriously. Is what would be appropriate to say, then, but, oh well. And like that, I gave them names. Then, they said to me. Rimuru-sama, we have no words to express our gratitude, but are you sure that this was all right? The chief Rigurdo asked with a slightly flustered voice. What is? Oh, well, we do know that Rimuru-sama possesses great magical energy, but, even so, to give out those many names at once. What's he talking about? I'm just giving them a name. Oh? Well, no problem, I guess. And so, I continued giving out names. It seems like Rigurdo wanted to say something, but I didn't pay attention. Having finished naming the goblins, I proceeded to the wolves. Their next leader is the previous one's son. He looks like his father with that sturdy build, and carries the same air around him. Looking at those blood-red eyes, I think of a name. That's right. Let's go with the kanji for Tempest Fang, Ranga. TL note, one of the readings for Storm, Tempest, is Ran, and for Fang, is Ga. I know, My names suck. I just took my family name and mixed it with their species. Well, it's good to give appropriate names, those words I will not heed. At that moment, I felt the magical energy being sucked out from my body. And, I was attacked by extreme lethargy. What the? I've never felt this tired since being reborn. Explanation. You have used magical energy beyond your capabilities. Switching over to lowered activity state. Complete restoration predicted in 3 days. I am conscious. Since I don't need sleep, I can also hear Great Sage's explanation. After which, I finally comprehended the situation. I used too much magical energy? So, I ran out of MP, huh? However, what caused that to happen? Had all the skills I used till now come bite me at once? But it doesn't feel like that's the case. Can't move my body. So lowered activity state is like hibernation, without sleep. While panicking, Rigurdo is nursing my body. In any case, there's not much they can do, so, they just sat me by the bonfire. Conscious yet inactive. So, I was thinking about that phenomenon. My magical energy decreased when I was giving out names. Giving names uses up my magical energy, huh? Come to think of it, a lot of magical energy was used when giving the Fang Wolves leader a name. So giving monsters names requires magical energy. That conclusion took me 2 days to work out. This would be the cause of Rigurdo's worries, wouldn't it? Wait a second, is it common sense in this world? Speak up. How would I know if you don't tell me? If I could complain, I'd be screaming my lungs out. Well, if I could move my body, I'd complain. Screaming my lungs out? Who said such a thing? But anyways, when I stopped moving the goblins, of course, got worried. And, a fight started out about who'd be taking care of me first. What the hell are they doing? Stop joking around. I can do without a goblin harem. I was basically treated like a divine ornament that blessed those that stroked it. And so, 3 days passed. Complete recovery. After having run out of magical energy, aggregate amount of magical energy and magic power seemed to have increased. Magic power allows us to operate. Magical energy is what we utilize. Somehow, I seem to have understood it. I think. So to summarize, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, type of thing. Should I experiment? Is what I thought, but I decided against it. I don't see a particular reason to do it, and dying during the experiment would be sad. For you see, I have already crossed that line. If you let down your guard, you die, so I learned. Now, then. Having noticed that I have awoken, the goblins immediately gathered. The Fang Wolves, too, entered the village. That being good and all, but, what's up with this? You guys, you're huge. Yes. Goblins are normally 150 centimeters tall. However, they are at least 180 now. TL note, from about 5 feet to 6 feet. The guy in front of me is over 2 meters tall. 6.5 feet. The Fang Wolves, as well, their olive-brown fur has turned jet black, giving off a charming shine. Furthermore, they are now 3 meters in length, about 10 feet. Last I saw them, they were at most, 6.5 feet. And, silently walking over here, giving out a strange aura, was a 5-meter-long wolf, 16 feet. Damn, that's scary. And my master. Your recovery fills me with endless joy. He fluently said. That can't be. Ranga, right? What the hell happened here these days? While I was at a loss, the monsters filled the forest with a roar of delight. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, the Storm Crest. Titles, One who commands monsters. Magic, none. Skills, Unique Skill Great Sage, Unique Skill Predator, Slime-specific skills Dissolve, Absorb, Regenerate, Extra Skill Water Manipulation, Extra Skill Magic Perception, Acquired Skills, Black Serpent Heat Detection, Noxious Breath, Centipede Paralysis Breath, Spider Sticky Thread, Steel Threat, Bat Ultrasound Waves, Lizard Body Armor, wolf supreme sense of smell, telepathic communication, coercion. Resistances, thermal fluctuation resistance X, physical attack resistance, pain resistance, electricity resistance, paralysis resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12, Preparing Our Environment. Translator's Corner, cast, an English clown and a French Pierrot. Clown, tututu. Mais asterisk she diso. Clown diso. We have almost caught up with chapters that needed retranslation. Pierrot, the plan is to finish up to 13 today, right? What's next? Clown, well, there seems to be 3 groups working on Tensei Shitara right now, yours truly, Wuxia, and Guro. Wuxia has not responded to any form of communication, so I don't know about them. Just met Guro today. Pierrot, that's not what I meant. When are the new chapters coming? Clown, oh. If I finish 13 today, then I'll do 18 and 21 tomorrow. If Guro allows me to edit his, I might only do 18 and edit 19 to 20. Pierrot, so that's the status update, eh? Rather unorganized, don't you think? Clown, don't blame me. We just started. Pierrot, alright, I'll leave it at that. Clown, well then, without further ado, the daily joke. What do you make a clown's outfit out of? Pierrot, polyester. Empowerment arc. Chapter 12, Preparing Our Environment. The monsters really grew these past 3 days. How shocking. This is what you call evolution, huh? Does receiving a name prompt evolution? Come to think of it, Feldera had mentioned something about names. Something about nameless and named monster. I see. For a monster to get a name is for them to become a named monster. So their stats increase, and the result, evolution. I see, that's why they were jubilant. That also explains why I used up so much power. Monster evolution is absurd. Rather than growing up, it's probably better to say that they became a different being. The goblins' eyes sparkle in delight, reflecting their profound wisdom, and directed at the females. What the hell? They actually look feminine. I'm so surprised I can't even scream. Eh? I couldn't believe my eyes. Though they were small monsters, resembling monkeys. The males became hobgoblins. The females became gobliness. Thus they evolved. According to what Rigurdo said, they heard the voice of the world. This is the great and rare evolution that I've heard legends about. Is how excited he was when he told me about it. The goblin females used to be covered from head to toe, but due to the evolution some particularly voluptuous parts are visible. The walls are jealous of your figure. Is a joke I can no longer say. The males are certainly happy. And they aren't wearing much either. I guess of the 3 necessities of life, we'll have to figure out clothing first. And then there's the Ranga problem. He's been so happy with my recovery, that he doesn't leave me alone for even a second. And while I can't say I don't like the soft fur, I'm more of a cat person. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate it. So, Ranga, I only gave you a name, so why did the rest of the pack evolve? That's right. As soon as I gave Ranga the name, that unpleasant incident occurred. My beloved master. We of the Fang Wolves are many as one. The name you bestowed had become the name of our species. I see. A shared name, so everyone evolved. According to him, the previous Alpha did not favor this principle. If he had, that battle might have gone a little differently. Oh, and with regards to that, Ranga seems to have secured his leadership in the pack. And thanks to that, the species changed from Fang Wolves to Storm Fang Wolves. So to summarize, they've gotten stronger. Is what he wants to say. Seems like he wants to be praised, so. Well done. And he happily waved his tail. As you'd imagine, if a 5-meter monster starts waving his tail, you'll be blown away. Funnily enough, a scowl is enough to make him dejected. The problem, however, was in the wolves' care. Since becoming pairs, the wolves and goblins live together. Or rather, for lack of housing, the goblins use the wolves as pillows. Clothing is an issue, and so is housing. So, what to do? There was a mountain load of food in front of me. So with regards to the nourishment, that answered any concern. It seems that at the same time as I ran out of magical energy, everyone began to evolve. And, after it finished a day later, they decided to celebrate together. However, as I was still continuing my recovery, they only continued to gather food. So during recovery, although I could feel being caressed, I could not sense either the evolution or the party preparations. Lowered activity state makes me surprisingly defenseless. Have to be more careful. However, to wait for my orders even in that situations, that is praiseworthy. It seems that their intelligence increased during the evolution. Perhaps the spirit is affected greater than the body. Originally, the goblins would hunt and gather the food, and so survive. Now, with the wolves' help, their habitat has greatly increased. What is more surprising, however, is that the goblin-wolf pair can use telepathic communication. They have become the wolf-riding goblins. Thus, the wolves no longer are just an addition to our fighting strength. Goblin, a monster which had never won before, has now become an expert hunter. And the amount of food they procured over 2 days is the proof. However, there is a problem. Life dependent on the fruits of the forest is rather uncertain. I'll have to teach them crop farming sooner rather than later. I guess I need to start by looking for a good crop plant, maybe rice. I'll keep an eye out. For now, let's just thoughtless enjoy the party. And so that day, in celebration of their evolution, the battle's end, my recovery, the banquet continued long into the night. And the sun rose again. Everyone had gathered. There are many things to do today, but I must first convey the most important matter. That is, the rules of this village. Those must be decided in the very beginning. Any community requires rules. A natural notion for the Japanese people. A rule is something that protects, not something that is protected. Some adults, me included, used to joke like that, but that is currently unimportant. I have thought of 3 basic rules. At the very least, I want to keep these 3. Any other rules they can make and enforce themselves. Has everyone gathered? In that case, I'll announce the rules. There are 3, and I want you all to solemnly swear to uphold them. Having said so, I announced these rules. 1. Do not attack humans. 2. Do not fight comrades. 3. Do not look down on other races. So were the 3 rules. With extra thought many more rules should be added, but they will be hard to uphold at first. For me personally, I established the most important ones. Now then, how will they react? Is this fine? For what reason should we avoid fights with humans? So asked Rigur. In response, Rigurdo glared at his son with a furious expression. Does he understand my intentions? They really should take it easy once in a while though. Simple. I like humans. End of story. I see. Understood. He understood? Wait a second, that easily? But from what I can see, everyone is content with my explanation. I thought there would be more displeasure with that rule. I guess being wrong once in a while is a good thing. Well. Humans live in groups, you see. If you reach for them, they might answer with force. It would be difficult to survive if they come at us seriously. And so, meddling in their affairs is strictly forbidden. And besides, it'd be better if we got along with them. I had nothing else planned, so I decided to also tell them the official reason. Of course, I love humans, is the real one. I was a human, after all. Hearing my explanation, Ranga deeply bowed. Anyhow, I got what I wanted. He must have his own reasons to avoid humans. Additionally, the hobgoblin's expression also read, we hear and obey. Anything else? To not look down on other races, what would that mean? Oh, well, you guys have evolved and gotten strong, right? So getting arrogant and acting high and mighty before weaker races. That's what it would mean. Even if you have gained some strength, don't mistake it for absolute power. Wouldn't it be silly if the one you put down grows stronger and takes revenge against you? Everyone listened with enthusiasm. Seems like everything will be fine. And in the future, even with this warning, some are bound to disobey. Even so, I'd be happy if this prevents even just a few incidents. And that's that. Do your best to follow these rules. And that is how I decided this village's new rules. However, a tragedy would later be born from one of these rules. Of course, I had no way of knowing at the time. I am not omniscient nor possess precognition abilities. Everyone nodded in acknowledgement. With this, a new chapter began for our community. Now then, after the rules, we discussed division of labor. Those who are on lookout duty. Those who search for food. A team for gathering raw production materials. And a group for structure and equipment maintenance. I left the lookout duty to the Stormfang wolves, due to their telepathic communication. There were 7 wolves without a pair. Well, considering that Ranga was clinging to me with all his might, there were 6, I guess. I left the observation to them. I'll leave the details to the village chief Rigurdo. Rigurdo, I'll have you become the Goblin Lord. Govern the village with pride. Frankly, I'm just giving him all the responsibility. That, in particular, is the one thing I truly want to avoid. However, I also want him to think about it. I used to work as a simple general contractor. Ruling is not for me. And besides, I'd rather not get bogged down at this village and miss the opportunity to visit human ones. I must be adamant about this, even if I have to force him. However, this unworthy one shall happily accept this great honor. Getting chalked on tears, he readily accepts. Good. I'd rather be the leader in name only. The sovereign reigns, but does not rule. A good advice, in my opinion. If need be, I'll voice my thoughts. But really, Rigurdo. This unsteady and wrinkled old goblin with one foot in the grave had become a robust and muscular hobgoblin. On a good day, would he be stronger than his son Riguru, I wonder? Geez, monsters really do keep surprising me. Yup. I leave it to you. Oh, and by the way, I've seen your method of building houses. You suck. Frankly, I can't even call those houses. What an embarrassing topic you bring up. To tell you the truth, we have never had the need to build large structures before. Right. Well, you've increased in number now. Oh, and about clothing, there are too many holes. Anything you can do about that? We have been dealing with a few groups regarding that. Surely their members would be capable of procuring clothing. Moreover, as skillful as they are, they would surely know house building. I see. As a person from general contractor services, I myself have some experience, but I am at a do-it-yourself level. I am not a jack of all trades and there is a limit to my abilities. If we meet those partners, perhaps we could hire somebody. Not like we lose anything by asking. All right. It may be beneficial to go and ask them. So, what did you use to make the deal? Gold. No, we did trade some items and belongings we got from adventurers, but that is not an option. Rather than money, we'd barter, do odd jobs, and thus slowly collect enough money for the trade. All the equipment we own we received from them. Oh? So, what race are they? The dwarfs. Dwarfs. The expert blacksmiths, the famous race. We must go. In the first place, while the goblins' clothing definitely needs replacement, their armor is likewise falling apart. And although the armor is sure to last far longer than a rotting cloth, the sizes just won't fit. So that's another spot for improvement. However, we don't have any equipment dropped by adventurers, and no money. What to offer in a trade? Nothing comes to mind right now. I'll go to them. Rigurdo, can I leave preparations to you? Please leave it me. I shall have everything prepared by noon. High tension, Rigurdo. I'll leave this to him. He'll probably scavenge around for remaining funds, too. This world's currency, huh? I'll laugh if it's paper. Come to think of it, I, myself, know nothing about it. If I plan to visit human cities, I must at least know about their currency exchange. Well, let's ask the dwarfs about this. So, while the goblins are busy with construction, shall we leisurely visit the dwarfs? And someday I'll visit a human city. From what I hear, the dwarfs live in a pretty large city, for a demi-human, that is. They also seem to have crowned a king, not that the goblins could ever meet him. In the first place, just entering the city is an impressive feat. Discrimination towards goblins. I wonder if this'll go well. I, for one, am but a slime, hopefully they won't be too surprised. While I am worried, I also expect a lot from this visit. It's been a long time since I was this thrilled. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, the Storm Crest. Titles, one who commands monsters. Magic, none. Skills, unique skill Great Sage, unique skill Predator, slime-specific skills Dissolve, Absorb, Regenerate, extra skill Water Manipulation, extra skill Magic Perception, acquired skills, Black Serpent Heat Detection, Noxious Breath, Centipede Paralysis Breath, Spider Sticky Thread, Steel Threat, Bat Ultrasound Waves, Lizard Body Armor, Wolf Supreme Sense of Smell, Telepathic Communication, Coercion. Resistances, Thermal Fluctuation Resistance X, Physical Attack Resistance, Pain Resistance, Electricity Resistance, Paralysis Resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 13, To the Dwarf Kingdom. Clown's note, I apologize for the belated release. Some things came up, and pushed my schedule back 8 or so hours. I'll try to post Chapter 18 within the next 12 hours. Translator's Corner, cast, an English clown and a French Pierrot. Pierrot, that Rimuru. Looking down on monsters is thinking you've become strong and acting high and mighty, what a hypocrite. Clown, now. Rimuru had always been very humble about Rimuru's abilities. Pierrot, I know. I just found it hilarious. Clown, I never can understand your sense of humor. But that be as it may, what's next? Pierrot, next, they are going to make the trip to the Dwarf Kingdom. Clown, I mean in our story. Pierrot, we have a story? Should we add characters? Clown, we haven't even properly developed the ones we have. Pierrot, oh, but we have. You just haven't realized it yet, foolish clown. There is a big mystery about the clown/Pierrot duo. Clown, what is it? Pierrot, so the daily joke. Clown, hey. Pierrot, Hillary Clinton goes to a psychic who tells her, prepare yourself for widowhood. Your husband is about to die a violent death. Mrs. Clinton takes a deep breath and replies, will I be acquitted? Empowerment Arc. Chapter 13, To the Dwarf Kingdom. As Rigurdo had declared, the preparations were complete by noon. Choosing the expedition party was also uneventful. Rigurdo's son Rigura was in the top 5 candidates. Of course, Ranga came along. Oh. Should I make Rigura the commanding officer? I was a little uneasy about it, but he himself agreed. Rigurdo also seems to have regained his youthful vigor, so maybe I worry too much. And so, after I had picked up the baggage, Ranga had me get on his back. Boyoyoon, I was buried in his fur. And while the surrounding fur seems to have secured me in place, I still feel the need to use sticky thread. It's times like this that make me regret not having arms or legs, but I guess I can manage with abilities. You see, I secretly practice manipulating the string to defeat an enemy with a web. Isn't that every man's dream? Whether I'll be able to learn those techniques, I do not know, but I decided to keep practicing regardless. That aside, the baggage held our money and provisions. Food enough for 3 days. If the trip takes longer, the plan is to hunt the rest of the way. We could have taken more, but I'd rather avoid bringing a caravan worth of food. Well, I could carry nearly an infinite amount inside of me. But spoiling them is a bad idea. Since I do not eat anyways, that was my decision. For currency, we brought 7 silver and 24 bronze coins. Which, of course, is a meager amount. I don't expect much. If it's not enough, we'll figure that out later. Now then, time to go. At a goblin's pace, the trip to the Dwarf Kingdom takes about 2 months. Through the forest runs the vast Ameld River. Beyond it, a mountain range reveals itself. And it is in those mountains that you will find the Dwarf Kingdom, they said. Other than by the empire to the east, the Jura forest is surrounded by many countries. And yet bordering no state, stands the Kanaat mountain range. Thus, there are only 3 trade routes leading to them. One goes right through the Jura forest. Another, the harder, traverses the mountains. The last is a sea route. Currently, the Jura forest route is by far the shortest and the safest, but, for some reason, it's generally avoided. And so, the harder mountain route had been the norm. As for the sea route, the cost and the powerful sea monsters steer sailors away, thus, it is the least used route. For now, we have no business with the Empire. Thus, rather than heading east, we headed north to the mountains. Nor do we need to ascend to the mountain summit. The Dwarf Kingdom spreads all the way to the Ameld River. Their capital is a beautiful city carved inside a natural giant cave. Such is the Dwarf Kingdom. So as intended, we continued north along the Ameld River. Since following the river prevents us from getting lost. Though just to be safe, I have opened the map in my head. As for our guide, he was sent as a messenger to the kingdom before, so we left it to him. But man, the black wolves, Stormfang wolves, are fast. And show no signs of getting tired. Since we started the journey 3 hours ago, they have yet to take a break. And let's not forget to mention their 80 kilometers per hour, 50 miles per hour, running speed. They don't even care about the uneven terrain, and while running in a way as to prevent motion sickness. It's unnaturally comfortable, to say the least. At this pace, this probably won't even take a week. Well, there's no need to rush. Certainly I want to figure out the clothing and housing problem soon, but it's fine if it takes some time. You don't need to push yourselves this much, is what I called out. But for some reason, the speed increased. At first I thoroughly enjoyed the breeze generated by these faster-than-a-motorcycle wolves, but that got boring soon. More so considering that it's difficult to have your words heard at this speed, but I have telepathic communication. Might be good to continue the journey with a conversation. So I connected to their thought network. What will I hear? Raguru-kun. I always wondered, who named your brother? Though for someone like me, don't bother with honorifics. As for my brother's name, he said a traveling man from devil race named him. Oh? A devil named a goblin. Yes, though this happened more than a decade ago. I was but a child then, but they say he stayed a few days and was pleased with my brother. Heh. Must have been a good brother. Yes. I was very proud of him. To the point of saying, I want to one day serve under Devil Gelmuto-sama, too. The devil didn't take your brother with him. Yes. Brother was still young, but he departed with a promise to come back when I got stronger. Is that so? Wouldn't he be surprised if he sees the village now? Certainly. However, I now serve Rimuru-sama. No matter how glorious the Demon Lord's army is, I can no longer join Gelmuto-sama. The Demon Lord's army? I think I've heard of them. But never mind that, how come you believe him? As you say. But whether it was faith or conviction, I don't know. Though my brother received a name from the devil, he didn't evolve to this extent. Clearly, the degree of evolution is different. Never expected to hear the voice of world in my entire life. The surrounding hobgoblins would only join in with a "that right" kind of phrase. Is it really as he says? When you receive a name, you evolve. And, the evolution depends on the power of the giver. If I get a chance to experiment, I'll try it out. More important, Demon Lord's army. It actually exists in this world. Will the Demon Lord come to recruit us? Which side should we support? That thought I'll leave for when he comes. In any case, a hero also exists, and if anyone should fight the Demon Lord, it'd be her. Though whether she is still alive after 300 years is a good question. She probably reincarnated a bunch of times by now, and now trains in peace. Let's make a mental note regarding this. Now then, the next conversation is... Ranga. Aren't I your father's nemesis? Are you okay with staying by my side? Is how I asked the black wolves. Honestly, that thought had never crossed my mind. However, the fate of monsters naturally rests on the outcome of battle. Thus, regardless of the war, the winner proclaims his justice. The loser loses all. And so, I, who had been forgiven by you, my liege, and have even been bestowed a name, I feel but gratitude towards you. Is that so? Well, if you ever desire revenge, come at my any time. Phew phew phew. Since evolving, I can think more clearly. And unlike during the battle, now I know. If you had faced us seriously, we would have been massacred. And our dearest wish, to evolve, would have crumbled like house of sand. Our eternal loyalty belongs to no other. Seriously, this guy. Yes, had I mimicked the black serpent, I could have laid waste to all living things, but I didn't want to resort to that. Ranga holds too high of an opinion of me. Well, not that his misconceptions hurt me in any way. So you understand. You have grown. I am unworthy of such praise. Thus the conversation ended with a nod. However, I did kill his parent. No way I'll believe that he holds no grudge. If Ranga ever does come for revenge, I'll gladly face him. Until then, he just needs to grow stronger. Right now, no matter how I look at him, he's at most as strong as the black serpent. And that's how we continued our journey. Thus, without getting attacked by monsters or other incident, we comfortably continued on our way. Every 3 hours, we'd take a 30-minute break. After 14 hours, we'd take 7 to sleep. I did say, aren't we rushing too much, but we are fine. Due to evolving, this much can hardly tire us. Thus answered Raguru. Please do not worry regarding us. Unlike you, our liege, we do require sleep, but not many hours. Furthermore, we do not require frequent meals, and will not weaken when lacking them. And so added Ranga. Looking at others, their words seem to prove true. At this rate, the one who does the least, me, seems to whine the most. Well, if everyone is fine with it, I guess we can continue at this pace. We'll be running 12 hours a day, aren't these guys tough? And on the evening of the second day, while having dinner. By the way, Gobuta. How much farther is it? Introducing Goblin Gobuta. I am happy that you ask this unworthy one. Please pardon me should I be mistaken, but we should reach them by tomorrow. Mountain is close by. Seems like being asked by me made him both nervous and happy at the same time. He didn't bite his tongue, did he? That's how nervous he seemed. But indeed, most of the mountain is now in sight. Compared to not seeing it at all yesterday, what terrifying speed we travel at. On that note. By the way, and I know it's a sudden question, but why did you travel to the Dwarf Kingdom? Shouldn't their merchants stop by once in a while? I asked that question. When I asked Rigurdo about the Goblin country, he also discussed something about kobold traders. So what could have prompted them to make this 2-month journey? Yes. It was about magic weapons and armor. Dwarfs tend to buy them at a high price. We were paid in equipment, so we helped the peddlers bring it back. And besides, not one of us could use that equipment. I see. So they sometimes sold the equipment carried by adventurers. And thus, they were left without appropriate equipment. Yet they sold it to kobolds who couldn't even properly estimate its value. In the first place, the goblins could kill a lost beginner, at most. Can't expect them to have gotten their hands on anything good. But who'd expect the dwarfs to make goblin armor? They may be a surprisingly kind race. Hopefully, we'll proceed on friendly terms. Actually, let's just form a partnership. Thus, since we started the journey, 3 days had passed. The beautiful city carved within the mountain range. Wrought by nature, the natural fortress. The warrior country Dworgen. We had reached the Dwarf Kingdom. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, the Storm Crest. Titles, one who commands monsters. Magic, none. Skills, unique skill Great Sage, unique skill Predator, slime specific skills Dissolve, Absorb, Regenerate, extra skill water manipulation, extra skill magic perception, acquired skills, black serpent heat detection, noxious breath, centipede paralysis breath, spider sticky thread, steel threat, bat ultrasound waves, lizard body armor, wolf supreme sense of smell, telepathic communication, coercion. Resistances: thermal fluctuation resistance X, physical attack resistance, pain resistance, electricity resistance, paralysis resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 14, Trouble. The military nation Dworgen. It was the kingdom of dwarves. 1,000 years had passed since the first generation dwarf hero, King Gurin Dwargo, had built this country. To this day, the country had been protecting, as well as developing, its history, culture, and technologies. The current King Gazelle Dwargo was part of the third generation dwarves, but possessed a similar aura to that of his grandfather in his younger days. He was renowned as a great hero and celebrated as a wise king for his impartial rule. The land was governed by one such a dwarf. As a free trade town, it was the center of trade between all kinds of races. Therefore, the town kept a policy of absolute neutrality. Within this town, the wise king would not tolerate violence. Even the empire in the east avoided open aggression with the military nation Dworgen. Needless to say, this was a favorite topic of conversation among adventurers. The dwarves were known to be such ferocious opponents, that there was even a saying, "Go against a dwarf once, there won't be a second time." Their reputation as a military nation was not just for show. In battle, a wall of heavy infantry would defend the army magic corps. The opposing enemies would be totally annihilated by the powerful magic attacks before even managing to break through the infantry wall. During these past 1,000 years, the might of the dwarven army that boasted of invincibility had always remained famous. And the factor which supported their claims, it was none other than the equipments they produced using their technological strength. The weapons and armors they crafted using their cutting-edge techniques far surpassed the quality of ordinary goods. Therefore, rather than quarrel with the dwarf race, people chose to create friendly ties. For this reason, even if one were to encounter demons in dwarf territory, there was hardly anyone who would foolishly cause conflict. Their capital was a place where humans and demons mingled. It was truly one of the strangest lands in the world. Not to mention, while the capital positively overflowed with tools of war, it was still a country that was able to enjoy peace. The fact that the arms dealer's stronghold was the farthest from causing strife might have been, in a way, ironic. In front of the entrance, there was a large line of people entering. There, a large gate was built that was big enough to completely block the naturally formed great cave. The only times the gate was opened was on the occasions when the army needed to come and go, and only once a month at that. Unfortunately, it was closed today. Below the large gate, a small door was installed for the express purpose of letting people in and out. A line of people was formed on the left side of the passage. It appeared that the right-hand side was a pathway for the likes of nobles and important figures. That's what I assumed as I observed my surroundings while lining up on the left side. While waiting, I saw that there was a varied treatment of the people, such as those who received a free pass, while others would be taken into a separate room to be checked. Befitting of a military nation, the guards took a firmly defensive stance. Although it seemed that you were comparatively free to act when you get inside. Still, the line was incredibly long. It might be that we would spend more time here waiting than we did traveling. But at the moment I was thinking that, oi, there's demons in a place like this. We're still not inside, so isn't it fine to kill them here? Hey, what are you doing lining up there? You guys are damn cheeky. If you don't want to die, give me that spot. Also, leave everything you have behind. And then I'll let you go this time. Those were really quite the dubious statements. Actually, I think that voice full of ill intent was aimed towards us. Over here, there was no one but me and Gobuta-kun. In any case, taking along a group wearing only loincloths does make you stand out in a bad way. Raguer had also wanted to come, but I refused. The other group was camping at the entrance of the forest, waiting for our return. And that was why it was just us two, but I wonder if we looked like easy targets. It seemed that a pair of adventurers that didn't want to get in line had their eyes on us. Oi oi, Gobuta-kun, do you hear something? Yes, I can hear it too. Did you get caught up in something like this the last time you came? Of course. I was beaten black and blue, then I got picked up by a group of kobold merchants. If they hadn't found me, I think I might have died back then. So you did get involved. Well then, can nothing be done about it? It's something like the fate of weak demons. It looked like we were in trouble. Moreover, this was a considered a normal occurrence here. I wished I'd known sooner. As if he had realized my thoughts, Gobuta-kun was hanging his head. I had finally gotten him to talk normally with me, but would this one time mistake return him to his previous nervousness? I was a little worried. Oi. Even though you're nothing but a small fry, don't be ignoring me. Now. Rather than that, isn't a talking slime rare? Don't you think it'll be popular in an exhibit? The two continued making their annoying conversation. I vaguely felt like I've been told at one time that I had a Buddha-like deep compassion, but this was making me angry. Gobuta-kun. Do you remember the rules I said before? Yes. Of course. I see. Well then, for a while, I want you to close your eyes and plug your ears. You must not ever look this way. I don't really understand, but roger that. Now let's see. I was the one who made the rules, yet I would be breaking them first. If my group came to know of this, it would be bad from an educational standpoint. Since I made sure that Gobuta-kun, who was in the way, closed his eyes. Let's begin clearing the trash. At that moment, the man on my right shifted his line of sight. Further checking my surroundings, I saw a group of three grinning amongst themselves as they observed the situation from afar. The two in front of me was a swordsman and another man wearing lightweight equipment. Most likely, he was in the profession of thieving. In the group of three, there was two that were wearing magician or priest-like robes, and a large warrior. I made a prediction. All of them were in the same party, and these two in front were meant to chase us out, according to their plan. Afterwards, the other three would follow and kill us as we run away, and then innocently regroup with the first two. I dare say that this was the scenario that they laid out. In this way, they must have killed the weaker demons and stolen their belongings. It was well thought up. However, this time, they picked the wrong opponent. Oi oi. You should patiently wait for your turn. I'm a very tolerant fellow. So it's not too late for forgiveness. Hurry up and line up from the back. I began provoking them. In that instant, the two in front of me were bewildered, and their faces quickly turned red. These guys had short tempers. Putting up a front when you're nothing but a *TTY small fry demon. Don't get cocky. Oi oi, you're as good as dead now. I even considered sparing your life if only you gave up your belongings. They were reciting the kind of lines suited to petty underlings. Heh. Back when I was a general contractor, if you couldn't manage to make scary grim-faced uncles dance to your tune, you just weren't fit for work. Among those uncles, there were even some that had playfully scribbled things, tattoos, on their body. The feeble threats of a greenhorn was nothing more than passing wind. A *TTY small fry demon? Were you talking about me? Of course it's about you. The likes of a slime is a small fry among small fry. Hurry up and get over here. It looks like you can talk well, so I'll turn you into a demon slave without killing you. A demon slave? There was something like that? Leaving that aside for the moment. The nearby merchants and adventurers were starting to notice the disturbance we were causing. I had to gather more attention. Although I don't know if such a thing as legitimate self-defense would work here, it would be great if even a few people could testify for me. However, was there no kind human who would yell, "I'll save you," and come dashing out? If I was a beautiful girl, there might have been someone like that, but I guess it's unreasonable to expect for a slime. Calling me small fry over and over, you sure talk arrogantly. Moreover, me, a slime. No matter how I see it, you're definitely a slime. Damn you, messing with me. I can't forgive being made a fool of by a weakling like you. I'll kill you after all. After saying that, the two readied their weapons. Ah. At last they were about to come at me. Oh boy. The first humans I got to talk to was like this. Such bad luck. To think that demons were friendlier. The people nearby had begun moving away to watch in a circle around us. From afar. Perhaps the guards had also noticed the uproar, which might have been why they distanced themselves in such a hurry. Now then. I leisurely moved forwards and said. Kukuku. You say I'm a weakling? A slime. Since when did I become a slime? Or are you just confused? I deliberately spoke as if to imply something else. It was true, that however you looked at it, I really am a slime. That was obvious from the very moment I was seen as a slime. But this was an act, probably. What did you say? Don't get carried away with bluffing. Humph. If you're not a slime, then show your real form already. After you're dead, you won't get to make excuses. It seemed they would wait for me to transform. Just as planned. Even as a slime, I believe I could win against them. However, holding back would be hard, so I might end up accidentally slicing them right in half. It was difficult to adjust my strength to the degree of only knocking them out. All right then. I'll let you see this true form of mine. Asterisk, this isn't even my final form. As I shouted, I also loosed a sinister aura to hint at my power. Of course, only a little bit of it. I checked around me to see if anyone had sensed that small amount of aura. Among the people watching us from far away, only a few had noticed. The two idiots before me and their companions showed no sign of being aware of it. These guys seemed to be all bark and no bite. I was done with observing the situation now. Now then, what should I turn into? From my body erupted a thick fog. It completely shrouded my form, and after a while it cleared away to reveal a different demon. A black wolf. Oh? I remember the last time I used predation and transformed afterwards. I had taken the form of a fanged wolf. Right now, I had black fur that was identical to that of the evolved Ranga and his pack. But not only that, my physique exceeded even Ranga's, and there was now a pair of horns on my forehead. Mimesis, Tempest Star Wolf. It seems that, if the lineage of the demon I've used predation on evolved, it would also affect my mimicry. Asterisk, most likely related to Rimuru naming them, which makes them family and connected in a way. This must have been a further evolved form of Ranga. I could feel an overwhelming power. I was sure that the idiot pair would run away upon seeing this appearance. But contrary to my expectation. Even if you look tougher on the outside, it doesn't change that you're a slime. Oi, did you think we'd get cold feet and run away from just that? They don't realize anything. Oi, you should be able to know the level of danger just by looking. In the first place, if a slime transforms, even if you couldn't tell if it was an illusion or something else, taking caution is a given. And yet, these guys weren't concerned in the least. Perhaps they were reassured by the presence of their three friends in hiding. The number of skills I could use had also increased. Super olfaction, thought transmission, intimidation, shadow movement, black lightning. Shadow movement was a skill that Ranga and Co was in the middle of practicing. Their goal was to become able to use the skill to merge into the shadow of their partner and instantly appear when called. At present, they were only practicing entering shadows, so there was still a long way to go. And the other, black lightning, I could imagine its power without needing to test it. If I tried it out, the pitiful men in front of me would be burned to black crisps. But since my predictions were rather poor, their conditions may turn out even worse. This being the case, there was no skills to use. If only intimidation would work on these morons. In a way, aren't idiots invincible? Anyhow, the end result was that I only managed to terrify a few of the spectators out of their wits instead. Oh boy, I don't care anymore. This is too tiring, so just come at me. I let them have the first strike. If I received damage while mimicking, what would happen? On one occasion, I had experimented on that question while in lizard form. I found out while continuously receiving attacks, that when a certain amount of damage accumulated, the mimicry would wear off. Afterwards, there was no damage that had transferred to my slime body. Most likely, it was because the skill mimesis utilized magic essence to create a new body, which was why the main body couldn't be damaged. There were two restrictions on this skill. After mimesis wore off, I would be unable to transform for the next 3 minutes, and the other was that mimicking a demon required a certain amount of magic essence. The amount of magic essence required was relatively insignificant, hence it was not an issue, and there was no duration limit to the skill. To sum up, there wouldn't be a problem in letting them attack me as much as they wanted. In the case that the opponents were strong, I could return to my slime form and escape immediately. And the fight began with them attacking first. Heh, die. Rayoic. Wind slash. The thief threw multiple daggers towards me. And was that swordsman using a skill attack? His sword was glowing green as he swung the blade at me. Claw. Snap. Simultaneously throwing 3 daggers was quite impressive, but there wasn't enough force behind them to pierce my bristles. As for the swordsman, sadly, his precious sword had broken with a snap. Just now, did you do something? Assuming the role of a villain with an air of experience, I enthusiastically asked them in a belittling way. But frankly, the power of their attacks were so weak that my question was rather reasonable. Was that skill nothing but a show? And dash, no way. Such hard bristles. Asterisk real hard, baby. Impossible, this dash, this kind of thing, it's impossible. My sword was made with silver. It had a power amplifying effect against demons. Well, of course, isn't silver fragile? What was he even saying, this guy? Oi. You guys help out as well. As if no longer caring for appearance, he called for his companions. As I expected, the 3 that were in hiding was a part of their group. Heh. It's the end for you now. My, really, I didn't expect we would get a turn. A slime's transformation magic? Interesting. I'll be sure to dissect it after killing it. For a while now, it hasn't been moving at all. Moving will probably break the spell. How's that? Did I hit bullseye? They were making so much noise while saying whatever they liked. The 5 of them then spread out in a circle around me, and began attacking at the same time. The thief slashed at me with a short sword. This time, the swordsman cast the magic attack, Wind Sickles. He was surprisingly talented. The heavy warrior bellowed heavy slash, as he swung his great axe. The magician also used a magic attack, Fireball. The priest was creating a magic shield in preparation for my attack. As a party, it was a well-balanced formation. Though unfortunately for them, none of their attacks had affected me. I peeked a fleeting glance towards them. Apparently, they were too shocked to make a sound. If it was now, intimidation might have an effect. Aruyuyuyu. Asterisk wolf howling. Believe me when I say I'm really sorry about the bad sound effects. I used intimidation on top of my howling. But, this turned out to be a massive failure. Even the spectators were fainting over here, and wetting their pants over there. To put simply, the situation was a great disaster. Crap, what should I do? This definitely wouldn't end well at all. What about the group of 5? They had taken the full brunt of intimidation at point-blank range. Well, of course. There wasn't really a need to say it out loud. And suddenly, I detected a number of dwarven guardsmen that were running this way with magic perception. As for my current state of mind, I gazed at the scene of people soiling their pants with various substances. And I unconcernedly thought to myself while escaping from reality. Cleaning up after that mess would really suck. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Titles, Crest of Storm. Magic. None. Skills. Unique skill Great Sage. Unique skill Predator. Slime inherent skills Dissolution, Absorption, Self-Regeneration. Extra skill Water Manipulation. Extra skill Magic Perception. Acquired skills. Black Snake Heat Perception, Poison Mist Breath. Centipede Paralysis Breath. Spider Sticky Thread, Steel Thread. Bat Ultrasonic Waves. Lizard Body Armor. Black Wolf Super Olfaction, Thought Transmission, Intimidation. Shadow Movement, Black Lightning. Resistances. Heat Fluctuation Resistance X. Physical Attack Resistance. Pain Immunity. Electrical Resistance. Paralysis Resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 15, A Deal with the Guards. I offer my sincerest apologies. I was deeply bowing my head, in my heart at least. We were being detained in the guard station of the Dwarven Gatekeepers. After causing an uproar to such an extent, it was somewhat obvious that I wouldn't be declared innocent and released on the spot. The dwarf guardsmen had come rushing over and instantly surrounded all of us that were involved. Although, my previous opponents of 5 were perfectly knocked out, so I felt like it was just me being trapped in that circle. That was it. I should secretly turn back into a slime and run away. I thought to myself, Eureka! But as I returned to my slime form and attempted escape, grab. My body was abruptly seized, and then a feeling of being suspended came over me. I was so easily captured. The soldier-san who caught me was smiling with a face that said, "Where do you think you're going?" But I could tell by the bulging vein in his forehead, that he wasn't happy in the least. Way dash, I haven't done anything, you know. I'm also a victim in this matter. I tried pleading the way Goblins would, however. Is that right? All the same, I'll listen to your story at the guard station. You'd better not think about running away. He still wore that wonderful smile, even as he warned me. It might be a better idea to just give in. Suddenly I thought to myself, what's Goblins doing right now, and when I looked around, I saw that even now, his eyes were still closed and his ears covered. That idiot. What was he thinking? No wait, he was probably not thinking at all. He was a ninny after all. While feeling somewhat amazed, I called Goblins over. And this was how we were dragged away to the guard station. The order of how events played out that time. First, I was forced into a fight. Second, I transformed into a wolf. Third, I let out a howl at a teensy bit loud volume. How about it? I'm not to blame, right? With that in mind, I sneaked a quick look up at Soldier-san. As ever, he was still wearing that wonderful smile. His beard was a fine match with his good-natured and hearty looks. It's such a pity though, if only those veins on his forehead would calm down. Why was I brought along with you? You idiot. What are you saying? Because you got involved in that mess. We are the ones getting reprimanded. So that's what happened. I'm really sorry. I caused a lot of troubles. Again. Well, it couldn't be helped this time, but make sure to be more careful. Next time, alright. Yeah. I think I fooled him somehow. What I used just now was the ultimate skill, shifting blame. Asterisk original text is. I'm pretty sure it has to do with controlling blame, but not completely. Sure. If you know what it means, please let me know. This was an advanced social technique which you could master only after many years of life experience. The trick was to not let the other party suspect you. It was considerably difficult to use. Asterisk if you are wondering what that accomplished, the guard's mood got a little better, I guess. Moving on. Actually, while I did jokingly recount how the incident had occurred, it was mostly quite accurate. Using the information they gained from the witnesses, the guards had also reached the same conclusion as how I had described it. I felt that their attitudes towards me had become softer to a certain extent. Now, about that demon wolf. What was it? Asking the question was the soldier San who was in charge of the investigation. What did he mean by what it was? The name of its species? Let's see, the name of that wolf species is dash. Not that. I don't need to know the name of its species, or anything like that. Why did that kind of demon appear in that place? To begin with. Where did it come from and where did it go? Speak of everything you know. Although I told them I transformed into the wolf, it seems they don't believe me. As a rule, heroes hide the fact that they can transform, but I'm no hero. That was why I had openly talked like a chatterbox, and yet. No, now see here, I'm telling you that it was me who transformed into that wolf. Ha. Really, I get that it's rare for a slime being able to talk, but transformation. Wait, then should I show you I can do it? Humph. Well, whatever. However, let's say for argument's sake that the wolf really was you. Why can you transform? Aren't you a slime? Confronted with such a question, how should I reply? Honestly answering, it's a unique skill, would be a foolish move. If I did that, it would put me on the same level as Gobuta-kun. Think. Come up a good explanation right this moment, me. To tell you the truth, a magician cast a curse on me. I think it was done out of jealousy for my talent. Back then, I was a user of illusion magic. Cursed by a magician, you say? And? Well, right. I had learned a number of illusion spells and was fully focused on studying, but an evil magician changed me into a slime. Right now, I'm on a journey to find a method to break the curse on me. And that's how it is. How did you come to meet this evil magician? Why were you not killed, but instead cursed? It would have been so nice if he took everything at face value. His persistence was almost annoying. Well, it was reasonable, I suppose. If he believed me just like that, I would consider him no better than a goblin. And from then on, a seemingly never-ending 2 hours passed. It was a time of non-stop offense and defense, questions and answers between me and Soldier San. The passionate exchange of words between the two had gradually given shape to a never-before-heard-of story. A story about a certain beautiful girl, who was cursed by an evil magician and turned into a slime. I didn't mean for it turn out that way, but in the midst of responding to every one of Soldier San's pinpoint questions, I had given birth to an exceedingly strange story. In the story, I was the young maiden who was a prodigy of transforming and illusion magic. She was cursed by a witch and was on a journey to break the spell, or so it went. You may ask, how did it come to this? Whenever I had mentioned something odd, Soldier San would mercilessly tackle it in the name of cross-examination. And in the process of fixing up my story enough to make him say, so. That's how it was already too late. Me and Soldier San. At the end of it, we had exchanged looks full of a feeling of accomplishment, though I had no eyes. No words were said, but our feelings got across to each other. All right. The written evidence, though the content is nonsensical, is completed. Thanks for your cooperation. By the way, what will you two? Slam. It's terrible. Down at the mines, an armorsaurus appeared. They say that several miners who were picking ores have already been injured. What? So, has this armorsaurus been put down yet? There's no problem there. Just now, a suppression unit has been sent over. But those who were wounded are in bad conditions. I don't know whether it was for war preparations or something else, but everything related to medicines have been sold off, and it seems they won't bring out the emergency stores in the castle. Are there no healers? That is, you know that to mine magic ores you need to go deep into the caves, right? At the moment, all of the capable healers are away, escorting the miners, and the only ones available right now are greenhorns. What did you say? It appeared to be a serious situation, and they've completely forgotten I was there. I thought to myself, if there are emergency supplies in the castle, bring them out. Restorative medicine, huh? Although I have them, what should I do? Oi, Mister. I've decided to hand them some. As for why I would do this, it's not like I thought maybe building a good image of myself would prove my innocence in the earlier incident. It's absolutely not like that. Saving lives is a natural thing to do. Though I admit, I sounded suspicious. But they say that compassion is not for the benefit of others. In other words, something good may happen for me. What is it? I'm busy right now. The investigation is finished now, but I can't release you yet. For a while, you'll be waiting in this place. No, not that. It's about this, you see. I took out medicine from a pocket. Or from their view, I simply spat it out. Ah, what's this? It's restorative medicine. It's of excellent quality. Good for drinking. Good for applying on wounds. Huh? Why would a slime like you be holding on to something like medicine? Hey now. Where did my setting, story of a young maiden, from before, go? Just now I was completely treated like a slime. As I expected, he was also going along with the flow at that time. Well, putting that aside, that doesn't really matter, right? Please try using it. How many do you need? 6 people were injured, but will you have enough? The young soldier San, that had come to report the situation, was glaring at me with suspicion. A demon giving you medicine, if it was me, I wouldn't take it. Tisk. No matter, don't leave the room. We're going now. Eh? But, Captain, that's a demon, you know. Quiet. We're going. Hurry and lead the way. While saying that, the bearded soldier San, who was called Captain, snatched the 6 medicines I had taken out and took off running. Although we never had a proper talk with each other, I think he decided to trust in me. He seemed to be a good person, just like his appearance. Though it was surprising that he was a captain. Is it over now? It was Goblins who was asking. He had been silent right from the beginning of the interrogation, only nodding the occasional agreements to my claims. It's not over yet, but well, let's see how it turns out. Roger that. From then on, we waited in a completely spaced out state of mind. Occasionally, among the soldiers that were coming and going out of the guard station, a few would stare at us in confusion, tilting their heads. We had spent 1 hour waiting. I was practicing my control over spider threads to kill time, when I sensed the footsteps of the returning captain and his men. Stopping what I was doing, I went back to the waiting room. Goblins was sleeping there. This guy, unexpectedly, he might actually be an amazing fellow. You saved us. Thanks. Entering the room, the captain said thanks while bowing his head. Also with him, was a group of miners that had followed behind. I heard you were the one who gave the medicine. Thank you. To be frank, I was on the verge of losing an arm, and not being able to work anymore, really, thank you. The miners were all expressing their appreciation in turns. Oh, there's one guy left, why wasn't he saying anything? Well, I've properly received their feelings of gratitude. A while passed, and the miners had all finished what they came to say and left already. Before I had noticed, the sun was already going down and it was getting darker outside. After that, the captain and I shared another conversation. This time, I didn't hide anything from him. The 5 people, from the previous disastrous incident, turned out to be adventurers that were part of this country's Freedom Association. Apparently, they were talented individuals, but were quite well known for their troublemaking. Without holding anything back, the captain had laughingly said, that ought to teach them a lesson. He also informed me, that while it was already confirmed that we didn't do anything wrong in particular, but taking into consideration the feelings of the bystanders involved in that incident, there was no choice but to detain us. I found out that a damage report was never made. But really, it was understandable. Making a complaint saying, I want compensation for my soiled underwear, would be extremely embarrassing. In return, I also told him of our circumstances. For the sake of reviving the Goblin village, we needed clothes, weapons, and armors. If possible, I also wanted to hire a capable advisor for the village, and so on. The captain had listened attentively throughout it all with keen interest. When the other guards learned of our situation, they had begun talking to me about all sorts of things. Even Goblins was besieged with questions from all sides, having to constantly reply with a bewildered expression. And like that, the night passed. The next day, we were still staying at the guard station. Goblins was borrowing the resting room. He must still be asleep. Since I didn't need sleep, I was already out in the backyard, gazing at the scene of the guards training. Some were practicing swinging their wooden swords, or more like logs, others were exchanging light blows in a spar, while the rest were working out by running. I was leisurely watching from the sidelines. Taking in the situation before me, I simulated in my mind a fight between the various demons I have used predation on, and the training guards. It felt just like a game. Still, I wonder if using Great Sage in this way was alright? The way I was using it, it could be described as like pearls before swine. Be that as it may, it couldn't be helped since it was interesting. There was no problem at all. The result of the simulation, overwhelming victory by the demons. Even when the guards were given a handicap, only a few could manage to defeat the bat and lizard. In a 1vs1 situation, the conditions were too favorable for the demons. However, it seemed that in a group battle, with 5-6 people which made up one party, there were a few party combinations that were able to beat my spider. On the other hand, even with all 20 of the training guards, they were not able to kill my centipede. In any case, I knew that the men here weren't of the strongest fighters in this country, so perhaps this was a standard level of strength. While I was doing that, Goblins had also woken up. The captain was also here, reporting for duty. You're free to go. I feel bad for confining you up till now. Though we had a reputation to uphold, we ended up taking up a day of your time. Sorry. No, saving on lodging expenses was very helpful. Hearing that really puts me at ease. As an apology, let me introduce you to a skilled blacksmith. That would be splendid. Thank you very much. Things were looking up for us. Regarding the immigration inspection, we were given something of a preferential treatment and it was completed without a hitch, while on the other hand we saved money on lodging fees. I also expected difficulty in searching for a capable blacksmith, but Soldier San's recommendation solved everything. Looking at it optimistically, nothing but good things had happened to us. But in return for that, was there a hidden catch to this? When it came to things hidden beneath the surface, videos were all I liked. Asterisk meant to be a pun on underground videos equals pirated videos. Because under the guise of something good there was something bad in underground videos are pirated videos and pirated videos are bad. And, forget it. It could also be about PRN. I'm just saying. If you still have any of those medicines remaining, I want to buy them. I see now. I did hear about it yesterday, that somehow supplies on medicine were low. Seeing as I have a huge stock of medicines, it would be fine selling them. But I didn't know the market price for them. What to do? Well, whatever. These medicines didn't cost anything to produce after all. If he says he needs them, then I'll just hand over some. I can agree to that. Although I say that, I do need them myself, so it depends on how many you need. I'll be fine with just taking the leftovers. Even if only one is left, I'll take it. HN. Isn't that strange? Wasn't he trying to procure a reserve supply of medicines? Having just one wouldn't solve anything in the hour of need. I suppose the need for medicine is just that great. Then, how about 5? 5. That'll be great. Ah, and also, did you know that it'll probably still have a good effect when diluted with water? When treating the average injury, just 1/10 of the medicine should be fine. When I explained how it worked, the captain nodded with a face that yelled, "I want more." After making sure he understood, I handed over the 5 pieces of medicine. And in return, I received a small bag. Opening the bag, I saw some gold coins inside. Although it may not be much, it was everything we could take out. I hope you can let me have them all for 5 coins each. It appeared that 5 pieces of medicine were worth 25 gold coins. But at the present, I couldn't tell profit from loss, so I thought to make use of this opportunity to ask about the currency rates. Excuse me. Is it not enough? But this is the best I can offer. No, though I'm okay with the amount you gave, there's something I'd like you to teach me. You're alright with this price? Then what is it you wanted to ask? HNN. Judging from that reaction, I was ripped off. It might have been fine to push the price a little bit. Well, that's fine. I felt that this Captain San was a good person, so I doubt he took advantage of me to a serious extent. Right now, I have only a small amount of money, but not only that, I have no idea at all about the value of money and the price of commodities. If possible, please teach me regarding those things. After all, being a slime, I'm ignorant in these things. My current manner of speech was totally contradicting yesterday's setting. Story of a young maiden. At any rate, both us had never believed in that story in the first place, so no problem there. And so like this, we had a conversation before departure that lasted so long, that it wasn't until after eating lunch that I was ready to say, "Now we depart." I couldn't taste anything, but nonetheless, it was a good meal. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, Crest of Storm. Titles, One Who Controls Demons. Magic. None. Skills. Unique Skill Great Sage. Unique Skill Predator. Slime Inherent Skills Dissolution, Absorption, Self-Regeneration. Extra Skill Water Manipulation. Extra Skill Magic Perception. Acquired Skills. Black Snake Heat Perception, Poison Mist Breath. Centipede Paralysis Breath. Spider Sticky Thread, Steel Thread. Bat Ultrasonic Waves. Lizard Body Armor. Black Wolf Super Olfaction, Thought Transmission, Intimidation. Shadow Movement, Black Lightning. Resistances. Heat Fluctuation Resistance X. Physical Attack Resistance. Pain Immunity. Electrical Resistance. Paralysis Resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 16, The Dwarf Blacksmith. why am I so busy? Kaijin, a dwarf man, was grumbling to himself. He furiously thought inside, geez, the empire in the east might make a move? What kind of idiocy is that? Indeed, for the past 300 years it had remained a peaceful era. Kaijin couldn't understand. Why would the empire, which was plenty rich enough as it was, go through the trouble of invading other lands? Although for this dwarf, who made a living through creating weapons, the beginning of the war should have been a really good chance to make huge profits. But still, why did my workload have to increase so suddenly, was all that ran through the dwarf's head. Moreover, there was one thing that he was greatly worried about. Even as he cursed and fantasized about beating up a certain government minister, the dwarf was in deep consideration regarding another matter. What should I do? He breathed a tired sigh as he continued to think. There was almost no time remaining for him to complete his work orders. Missing the deadline would be a huge blow to his reputation. Saying, I couldn't do it, was simply not an option. Right now, his future depended on whether he would receive contact from the friends he had sent word for. He was well known for his skill as a blacksmith, but there were still some things he couldn't do. What was troubling him so much was the lack of materials to create weapons with. And then the people he had been waiting for finally appeared before him. Sorry, we should have made it by yesterday, but there was a matter beyond our control. Saying that, the three men entered Kaijin's shop. There were three of them, all siblings, and also of the dwarven race. All of them were in the business of mining. The eldest son Garm. He was a skilled armorsmith. The second son Dold. He was for known his first-rate craftsmanship. The third son Mild. Though he was a dwarf of few words, he was an expert at what he did. Having knowledge in construction, and well versed in the arts, he was a one-of-a-kind genius. By all rights, these three outstanding talents should have been the owners of their own shops, but unfortunately, they were all rather clumsy in regards to general living. Blessed only in their respective specializations, they were hopeless when it came to planning things or business trades, which was why they were frequently taken advantage of by the people around them. And so, their shop was taken over by a person they had trusted in, and what was more, they even fell into a trap laid by a fellow apprentice who was jealous of their talents, and ended up literally kicking an officer of the king and was now under watch by the country. Having nowhere else to go to, they chose to rely on Kaijin, who was their childhood friend as well as the big brother of the group. Although he ruefully thought to himself, you should have depended on me sooner, he was aware that it was already far too late to say that. He had decided to shelter three brothers into his shop and hire them to work for him. However, there was no work to entrust to them. While Kaijin's shop mainly sold weapons, his other goods were bought from other suppliers. Since he personally made his weapons, there would be no problem in receiving assistance in regards to that. However, he feared that unnecessary troubles would occur if his shop suddenly stopped trading with the other suppliers and began self-producing armors and crafts. There was a need to continue business operations as usual until the three settled down. This was why he had tasked the three brothers with overseeing laborers in the gathering of ores and raw materials. After hearing their circumstances, he found out that they had encountered a demon. Kaijin was greatly perplexed at this. Nevertheless, their safety was something to be happy about. Thinking of how fortunate the three were to avoid any injuries, he voiced his relief. Well, it's good that you guys are safe. You must have done well in running away. It's great that none of you were hurt. Indeed, as long as they were safe, it was always possible to go back to gathering the needed ores. But while he was thinking to himself, the safety of my friends are much more important, the three brothers exchanged awkward looks with each other. They said, "No, it's not like we managed to get away in time. To tell you the truth, even now I still can't come to terms with what happened yesterday. Asterisk third bro is silent. From then on, he listened as they explained what happened in detail. They claimed, a mysterious slime gave us medicine that brought us back to life. Normally, he would have laughingly replied, I don't believe that, but he knew that the brothers were never the kind to lie. Or rather, they just weren't skillful enough in telling lies. Which meant that what they said was true. However, seeing as it was only yesterday that a demon attack had resulted in casualties, hiring new miners would most likely be impossible. Due to yesterday's events, the men he had employed were resigning one after another. Since they also incurred considerable injuries themselves, he could not really complain. In regular circumstances, this would precisely be the time to go to the Freedom Association with a request, but that was not an option. He had already issued a request for the gathering of ores, but there was yet to be a reply. It was the same situation for every other workshop, and so the stocks of goods in the market were deteriorating. In the case of commissioning guards, not only would the fee be comparatively high, they would only work within the extent of the request. If you asked for escorts, they would do just that and no more. And when it came to the price of adventurers capable of defeating a B rank demon, it wouldn't do any good. Far from making a profit, he would go bankrupt instead. He thought to himself, Tisk. Why did such a strong demon have to come out in the outer zone of the mines? Kaijin sighed heavily. He contemplated on what he should do. The deadline was drawing nearer. He even considered going so far as to personally gather all the ores with his own hands. But no good ideas popped into his head, and time was running short. The four dwarves were all lost in thought as they looked at one another. And it was then that a strange group came into sight. Asterisk returning to slime perspective. Hey! Big bro, you there? While calling out to someone inside, Captain San, now known as Kaido San, entered the shop. In the midst of our conversations, we had become much more open and friendly towards each other, and were now on a first-name basis. I was told that the owner of the shop, the one he wanted to introduce me to, was his actual elder brother. From the outside, it looked like the kind of small shop run by a stubborn old uncle. Sorry to intrude. Asterisk Ramiro greets. How do you do? Asterisk Gobuta-kun greets. Saying our greetings, we followed Kaido-san inside the shop. The moment we entered, we saw that many eyes were focused on us. Ah! All three dwarf brothers had exclaimed at the same time. The three dwarfs I saw yesterday had all raised their voices in surprise and were looking over here. They were looking healthy now. Although for some reason they were making depressed faces. And then surely, as expected, there was a grim-looking uncle whose face didn't lose one bit to those of the scary town construction old men. He was the owner of this shop. Honestly, he didn't resemble Kaido-san at all. What's this? They friends of yours? Kaijin-san. It's this slime. The one that saved us yesterday. Yeah, that's right. So the Captain-san was the younger brother of our shop owner. Asterisk third bro is silent. Oh. So that's the slime you were talking about. I've heard you were the one who saved these guys. You have my gratitude. Not at all. I don't feel as if I've done that much, or perhaps I might have. Ha 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 ha. For one such as I, who easily gets carried away and goes too far, words of praise is taboo, because I wouldn't be able to calm down for the next long while. So, why have you come here today? After slightly regaining his composure, Uncle San asked a question. All of us had moved further inside of the shop to talk. And then, Kaido San began briefly explaining my situation. I also chipped into the conversation, when needed, to help move it along smoothly. But I must say, this third dwarf brother called Mild San, he never says a single thing. I mean, how did he still manage to actually communicate? was mysterious. I understand what you want now. But I'm sorry. I don't think I can be of any help. The thing is, we've already received a request from a certain country. He told us that it was a secret, and explained what was happening worldwide while withholding the important information. It appeared that many countries were feeling pressured by the fear of a war occurring because of a certain fool somewhere, and that was why craft orders for weapons and armors were being issued everywhere. Putting this information into consideration, it made sense that the medicines and other goods were out of stock yesterday. And so, about the request I received. Although I did manage to make 200 steel spears overnight, but on the other hand, regarding the main order of 20 swords, not even a single one has been made yet. I don't have the materials, you see. Despite hanging his head low, Uncle San still grumbled. If it can't be done, isn't it fine to cancel the order? It was a reasonable question, asked by Kaida-san. You idiot. Even I told them from the beginning that it was unreasonable. But then that *TTY government minister Bester butted in and said, famed throughout our kingdom for your skills, can not a man of your caliber, Kaijin, complete a small task of this degree? Is the kind of drivel he prattled on to me. Not to mention, this was said in front of the king. Would you forgive him? That *TTY bastard. He was furious the whole time he talked. As we continued to converse, I learned that in the past, the third dwarf, Brother Mild-san, had rejected a request from Minister Bester to build a house that he wanted. Bearing a grudge from that incident, the minister had repeatedly harassed Mild-san to the point where he was starting to think about escaping from the country. And I was told that the one who took him in at that time was Kaijin-san. However you looked at it, it was definitely an unjustified resentment towards Mild-san. Then I thought to myself, wasn't it likely that the minister bought up all the materials to obstruct Kaijin-san's work? If you couldn't make the swords due to the lack of materials, does that mean that spears require different materials? And to my question Kaijin-san replied, yeah. The swords require a special material called magic ore. The spears only needed to be made out of steel. He had replied in a very tired manner. Without the materials, even a master blacksmith was just an ordinary person. It must be so frustrating for him. But when you think about it, wasn't it possible that the minister was waiting for Kaijin-san to come to him begging for help? To top it off, it takes a whole day to complete one sword. Even by using the assembly line system for efficient production, it would still take 2 weeks to make 20 of them. I was about to ask about the time limit, but then decided not to. The despair on his face told me everything I needed to know. But he told me anyway. The deadline is by this weekend. On the first day of next week, I have to deliver it all to the king. This job is something that is assigned to each and every craftsman, commissioned by the country. If you can't complete it, it is possible to have your qualifications as a craftsman revoked. In other words, only 5 or so days left to complete the order. Or rather, since any progress couldn't be made today, then only 4 days until the deadline. I got the feeling like the talk was getting serious. I had nothing to do with this, so why was I here? Just wait a moment, I can't seem to understand what's going on. Actually, if it's magic ores, don't I have some? Well, it's not like it was my business. I didn't know if they were misunderstanding something or not, but everyone was looking towards me. Being stared at by men doesn't make me happy. Their eyes seemed to be telling me, hey you. Can't you do something about this? These people, what did they think a slime was capable of? Guess I've got no choice. For now, I should magnanimously lend my help them, and while I'm at that, I'll have them assist me with the revival of our goblin village. Phew phew phew. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Hey now, isn't this talk just too insignificant? Uncle. This thing, can you use it? With a loud thud, I placed before their very eyes, a fully extracted ore on the work table. And then I went to lay down on the sofa with my legs outstretched. That's how I imagined it. Hey. He. Isn't this magic ore? Moreover, it's of unbelievably high purity. Heh. Actually, that wasn't magic ore. It was a pre-made, magic steel ingot. Hey now, Uncle, are your eyes just for show? If he wasn't even capable of identifying this, I doubted he would be of any use to me. I would sell the material to him at a suitable price, but wouldn't further involve myself. What? You don't mean, no, that's ridiculous. Are you saying that the whole of this ingot is magic steel? As expected, Uncle San saw through it. But still, like how he was astonished, I was pleasantly surprised as well. Will you turn this over to me? Of course, I'll pay the asking price. Phew. I caught him. Well now, how should I go about this? Arg. What is it you want? I'll do anything that is within my ability. I was waiting for those words. You've already heard of our circumstances, yes? Among Uncle San's acquaintances, I want you to find someone capable of teaching crafting techniques. What did you say? You're okay with just that? Humph. Our first priority is to secure the life necessities, clothing and housing. And also from now on, I want to request an intermediary for supplying clothes, and someone capable of making weapons. If that's all you need, there'll be no problem at all. With this agreement, I handed over the magic steel ingot to Uncle San Kaijin, and in return I gained a promise. We planned to go over the smaller details after he completed his work orders. From the response he showed, it would have most likely been fine to request a little more, but wanting too much wasn't good. After all, greed was always the cause of my failures. I've learned from my past mistakes. The very same day, after everyone had dinner, Kaida-san left us and returned to his post. Even though he was captain of the guards, it wasn't a good example he was setting by skipping his work from noon. But well, it was for the sake of guiding me around. I have nothing to say about that. And then, the three dwarf brothers had excessively expressed their thanks to me. It appeared that because they thought it was their fault that Uncle San Kaijin was under supervision of the country, they felt very grateful that I helped out. When I asked, if you like, why don't you three join us, their eyes went wide with surprise, and then they began a discussion among themselves. Well, I was sure they would arrive to some sort of conclusion. But it was about time to ask the most important question. Uncle San, there are 4 remaining days. Including today, that makes it 4.5 days. Will it be enough time to finish your work? To be honest, I don't think it can be done. Even so, I've no choice but to do it. So he was planning on going ahead with only fighting spirit. However, I know this. What can't be done, can't be done. To be successful in something, all the components that makes it possible must be assembled. There was nothing to be done about it. Since I started this, I'll see it through to the end. I understand. I have a plan. For the time being, wait until tomorrow. I need you to calm down and make me one sword that is of the finest quality possible. What are you saying? Aren't you an amateur in this? What can you do to help? It's a secret. Believe in me. If you can't, then do as you like. However, I'm sure that you won't be able to fulfill the request. It's okay to trust in you, right? In the case that you can't make this succeed, I won't be paying you for the magic steel. Well, it wouldn't make a difference to me either way, since I wouldn't be able to pay anyway. But, if you manage to keep your promise, I swear to keep my side of the promise as well. I'll prepare for you the best workers there is. We've made our promises. And a promise made was something to be kept. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, Crest of Storm. Titles, One who controls demons. Magic. None. Skills. Unique skill Great Sage. Unique skill Predator. Slime inherent skills Dissolution, Absorption, Self-regeneration. Extra skill Water Manipulation. Extra skill Magic Perception. Acquired skills. Black Snake Heat Perception, Poison Mist Breath. Centipede Paralysis Breath. Spider Sticky Thread, Steel Thread. Bat Ultrasonic Waves. Lizard Body Armor. Black Wolf Super Olfaction, Thought Transmission, Intimidation. Shadow Movement, Black Lightning. Resistances. Heat Fluctuation Resistance X. Physical Attack Resistance. Pain Immunity. Electrical Resistance. Paralysis Resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 17, The Outcome of the Promise. It was the beginning of a new morning. Everyone had gathered in the work room. Yesterday, we had borrowed a vacant room that was meant for apprentices. In order to stay the night. When we first entered the workroom, there were already 4 people inside that were just staring at the magic steel ingot. All the while sighing, they were turning it over and over in their hands, checking if it was real. The ingot I had handed over was only the size of a human's fist. I thought it was an overly exaggerated reaction, so I asked, "Is it really that rare to see? What are you even saying?" Uncle San, Kaijin, answered me, and followed it up with an explanation. Magic ore was the raw form of magic steel. Even in its unrefined form, magic ore was considered to be valuable. The reasoning was very simple. Its rarity, and its versatility. There was a major element that existed in this world called magic essence. This magic essence, that didn't exist in my original world, occupied a major role in this one. When a demon was defeated, very rarely it would drop a condensed mass of magic essence called a magic stone. This magic stone was something like a concentration of energy, which was used as fuel for an invention unique to this world, spirit engineering. This magic stone acted as a core for superior demons, and on top of being more beautiful than most precious gems, it was said to contain an unimaginable amount of energy. As such, magic stones of superior demons were used as the core for many manufactured goods. Craftsmen were said to even use these as raw materials for the accessories they created. Those items would grant various effects upon the wearer, such as an increase in abilities, or an effect that would bind the item to the user only. And between magic ores and regular ores, there was one decisive point that set them apart. Without exception, magic ores would only form around the vicinity of superior demons. The reason was that when regular ores are exposed to dense concentrations of magic essence, they would slowly absorb it over a very long period of time. Only when a great amount is contained would regular ores finally undergo a change into magic ores. It was similar to how minerals would suddenly change. Naturally, only powerful demons would be inhabiting locations with high levels of magic essence. Magic ore was hard to find in locations like the habitats of weak demons that adventurers defeated to earn pocket money. For magic ores to form, at the very least, it needed to be a place that ranked demons or above would live in. Incidentally, this was the first time I learned some information regarding the ranking of demons. So that's how it is. Well then, I wonder, I should also be around B rank. If that's what you think, it must be true. Though you're alone in thinking that. Everyone thinking to themselves. Most likely, everyone apart from that Ninigo Buta was thinking the same thing. Well, leaving the idiot aside. Magic ore was already such a difficult thing to obtain, but the amount of magic steel that could be extracted from that said ore was only roughly 35%. In other words, a lump of magic steel the size of a fist was worth money. That was 20 times its value in weight. The way money was valued here was almost the same as in my original world. A common way of measuring money, the gold standard system, was adopted across the nations. Well, what all this meant to me was that the metal was much rarer than I had guessed. As expected of me. Not missing a single thing in the cave. By the way, I became just a little bit scared about the fact that I secretly possessed a huge amount of that magic steel. There was no way anyone could find out, but what if someone did? Was I thinking this because I was a petty bourgeois? Anyhow, the main issue was from here on. Magic steel was not simply valuable just because of its rarity. There was a true reason for its worth. That was because the metal possessed a property that had extremely good affinity with guiding magic power. It was possible to control magic essence to a certain degree using imagery in the mind. My magic perception was the same, and even the effects of water manipulation was brought about the same way. The majority of skills used by demons were based on using magic essence in such a way. Although I didn't know much in regards to magic, I had suspected that the theory behind its use was no doubt similar. And so, what if a huge amount of magic essence was included in the raw materials of a weapon? Astonishingly, apparently it will become a weapon that grows. How romantic. What's it like? I want it. Though I managed to firmly hold my inner thoughts back, the words that almost burst from my throat still remained on the very tips of my tongue. It was a weapon that responded to the thoughts of the user, gradually altering its shape into the desired ideal form. And depending on the magic power of the user, it was even possible to freely transform its form in the midst of battle. Furthermore, due to its high affinity with magic essence, it would amplify the power of skills. In a way, when compared to normal weapons, unless there was a great difference in talent, the magic weapon would definitely bring its user victory. Perhaps, though this was just my speculation of a case of pouring money and utmost use of technology, if a superior demon's magic stone was inserted into a blade of pure magic steel, would it possibly become a sword of fire, or sword of ice? Though in my heart I was screaming, hurry, and make it already, it was not good to get too excited. I felt that it could be done, so I wanted to procure a magic stone if the occasion presented itself. After a long time of explanations, Uncle San and Co were now working on the sword. For future reference, we were also observing what they did. Although that Gobuta was no doubt just sleeping. When creating a sword, there were a variety of kinds that could be made. In my heart, the strongest sword is of course, the Japanese sword. However, even among katanas there was still all kinds of varieties. To contemplate on what kind of sword you could make, was also something quite interesting to think about. It had been 10 hours since they had begun work. A long sword that looked nothing out of the ordinary had been completed. What's this? A large part of magic steel was still left unused. The remaining amount was still largely the size of a fist. It was to the extent that made me think to myself, would it be alright to use just that much for one sword? Upon asking, I was given an answer saying, if all of the magic steel was used as raw material for the sword, who knows how much money that would cost. If you thought about it, it was natural. It was no wonder they didn't make such extravagant things like elemental swords. I now understood that it simply required too much money. Apparently, they had used magic steel as the core part, while most of the blade was made out of ordinary iron and steel. I was told that magic essence in the magic steel would seep into the iron and steel parts, then eventually become completely merged. It was said that the more it aged, the stronger it became. Another special characteristic of magic weapons was that the blade would never rust or become chipped. Curiously, I was told that the weapons had a life of their own. If it became completely broken or bent, then the magic essence would burst out and dissipate all at once. Uncle San had explained all that to me, all the while holding up and displaying the sword he had completed. It was quite interesting to listen to. I took up the finished sword and gazed at it in my hands. Though I had no hands. Looking carefully, although it was of a simple design, it was perfectly straight. It could be said that there was no unnecessary part to it. It didn't appear to be meant for pure cutting, which was the main principle behind a Japanese sword, but still seemed capable to be used for slashing attacks. I see. The goal of this design was to use this simplicity as a base to make it easier to realize an individual's respective ideal form. Keeping that in mind, I could agree with the way it was made. Well then. As promised, Uncle San and the others had completed a magnificent sword for me. Now it was my turn. All right. From here on I'll be working in secret. I'm sorry, but after confirming the raw materials, I want everyone to leave the room. Saying that, I made sure that everyone would leave the room. After all, I couldn't afford to let anyone know my manufacturing method. Mainly because it would be troublesome to explain. All the necessary materials are assembled in this room. But will you be all right? If needed, I can help out. I'll be fine. Rather than that, during the next 3 days, make sure not to peek in the room, okay? It's a promise. I got it. I'll believe in you and wait. After that, Uncle San and the others left the room. For some reason, Gobuta also went with them. There might be a need to strangle some sense into that idiot at least once. Now then, today's recipe on the menu shall be, how to make longsword la carte. The method of production was simple. The first step was to swallow up the model product. Next, what I had to do with all these materials lined up here was to swallow them all. Chew, chew, gulp. And then, I would mix them well inside my stomach. All I had to do was repeat that process 19 times over, and it would be finished. Easy, wasn't it? But still, good children should never imitate this, right? And that was how I carried out my work, with my head full of silly thoughts. This was bad. The time needed to copy one sword took roughly 10 seconds. 190 seconds, a little over 3 minutes, and I had made all 19 long swords. It hadn't been 5 minutes since I had driven out Uncle San and the others. How should I put it, even though I knew I could do it, the way I did it so easily made me feel a little guilty toward all of the hard-working craftsmen sans out there. Predator was seriously too cheat-like. Well, what now? Since I had told them something like, don't peek in for 3 days, was I to confine myself in here for next 3 days? No. As one would expect, there wouldn't be any use in pointlessly staying here. I might as well be out with it and tell them bluntly that I was done. Baya. Loudly opening the door, I stepped outside. Kaijin-san and the 3 brothers were looking over in worry as they hurriedly rose to stand up. Gobuta was sleeping. You, to be asleep within a mere 5 minutes since I was in there, what was up with you? Indeed. That was the moment I decided somewhere in my mind, I would really strangle him sometime. Hey, what's wrong? Did something happen? Was the materials perhaps not enough? Or was it that it was impossible after all? Everyone was questioning with the same concern in their faces. No, actually, you see. All those eyes full of worry was hard to stand. I couldn't help but put on airs. Still the same as ever, I had such a bad personality. I'm sure I couldn't be cured of this even if I died. Just kidding. Actually, I've already finished it all. Ha. Asterisk altogether. They raised their shocked voices in perfect harmony. Well, of course they'd be surprised. Cheers. In honor of successfully completing our work, we were drinking in a bar. We were celebrating under the pretext of having made sure the goods were safely delivered. Well, I did tell them that it wasn't a necessary thing to do, but they said, Now, there'll be plenty of pretty elder sisters there. Yeah. Young pretties and mature ladies. It's just the right place for gentlemen to visit. Asterisk third bro is silent. Sort of. PR/N, S asterisk X drive has activated to an amazing tentacle /100%. Hey now. If Master Rimuru doesn't go, the party won't begin. I didn't want to, but there was no choice. These guys were really a handful. Man, my sincere image of a refined man will go to waste. This was really troubling. I was told the name of the establishment was Night Butterfly. Would there really be butterflies? I wouldn't forgive them if there are moths. No, it's not like I'm interested in that, okay? And while thinking these thoughts, we entered the shop. Oh my. Welcome to our shop. Asterisk collective welcome by waitresses/hostesses. Yeah. Extremely beautiful women were standing all lined up. Ah, those long ears. Irofu. No, I mean, it's an elf. PR/N, Irof asterisk CK. No, I mean, it's an elf. Wadash. Oh man. Their clothes were too revealing. You could almost see, but couldn't. What was with that? I was even using magic perception with all of my strength. Normally I use it on a 10% output low energy consumption mode. These elder sisters were all resolutely dancing in between the lines of modesty. Arg, was this a challenge? Was this a challenge towards me? Damn it all. Wah. How cute. Why? Even though I had my eyes on it first. Smush. Boyoin. Asterisk bouncing sound effects, basically. It's here. On my body a sensation of puyon. On my back it was boyon. Was this paradise? Although you seemed discontent at first, it looks like you're having a great time of it. Gasp. Oh no, for the great me to be like this. No, not that much. I guess that was a bit too forced. Not a single one of them believed in me. However, I couldn't help it. What could I do? I mean, right now I'm on top of an elf's lap and being hugged from behind. My heart is so deeply moved. If only my late son, currently non-existent, was still alive, he would be so excited and frolicking about. We were passing away the time and enjoying ourselves when someone interrupted us. My, isn't this Kaijin Dano? That's no good at all, to bring a vulgar demon into such a refined establishment as this. A provoking voice had called over to where we were. Who was that? Who was this old man? All of a sudden, our surroundings had quietened down. As if they disliked that old man, the serving girls all had a hint of dislike on their faces. But it was hard to notice unless you carefully observed them. Unusually for a dwarf, the old man was of a slender build, and rather tall. Though I say that, he was around the height of a normal human. Hey, madam. Do you permit the entering of demons into this shop? No, even though it's a demon, it was only a harmless-looking slime. So? Huh? It's still a demon. Am I wrong? Do you mean to say that a slime isn't a demon? No, it's not like that, I never meant. Mama-san had replied non-committally in an evasive manner, trying to avoid those angry words, but the old man paid no further attention to her. It was plain to see that the old man's objective was us. This isn't good, that's the Minister Bester. So that was the rumored Minister Bester. I see, how should I put it, his face had a high-strung and obstinate look about it. At that moment. For a demon, this would suit you well. Saying such nonsense, he splashed the top of my head with water. That really got on my nerves, but I firmly put up with it. Since my opponent was the minister, I couldn't let my quick temper get the better of me and make trouble for Uncle San, Kaijin, or this shop's mamazan. To be banned from this shop or something like that, I didn't want to experience such a sad thing. But just when I had resolved to endure it all. Oi! Just because we were nice and quiet, you get full of yourself. Uncle San kicked the table flying with a bang, and stood up. Hey, Bester. Bastard, acting so rudely to my guest, are you ready for what's coming to you? Eh? Hang on, Kaijin-san, the other party is the minister, is that okay? Minister Bester had become stiff from astonishment, and I was also jumping up and down in a panic. A gentle and soft sensation exploded from my back. It wasn't on purpose. Absolutely. Yo dash, you bastard. To dare to use such words towards myself. Minister Bester couldn't even properly speak due to his anger and surprise. Isn't it about time you became silent? Bellowing in a fury, Kaijin-san sent an unhesitating fist flying towards Minister Bester's face. Rimuru-dana, you were searching for skilled craftsmen, right? Would I be lacking? You would be far from lacking, but, I should say, will this be all right? But well, after hitting the minister, there would be no place for him in the country now. However, in a man's life, there would be times when words were unneeded. I'll take you up on those words. I look forward to working with you. Kaijin. I didn't care about the minor details. If Kaijin wanted to come with me, I was just fine with that. Pretty words can go to hell. I'll be satisfied with living the way I want. Kaijin and I passionately nodded to one another. And so, our promise was fulfilled. But still, from here on, how should we escape the country? As expected, when in society, if you didn't act with prudence, a mountain load of problems would come about. Even if you were to put up a front, those problems wouldn't simply go away. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, Crest of Storm. Titles, One who controls demons. Magic. None. Skills. Unique skill Great Sage. Unique skill Predator. Slime inherent skills Dissolution, Absorption, Self-regeneration. Extra skill Water manipulation. Extra skill Magic perception. Acquired skills. Black Snake Heat perception, Poison Mist breath. Centipede paralysis breath. Spider sticky thread, steel thread. Bat ultrasonic waves. Lizard body armor. Black wolf super olfaction, thought transmission, intimidation. Shadow movement, black lightning. Resistances. Heat fluctuation resistance X. Physical attack resistance. Pain immunity. Electrical resistance. Paralysis resistance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 18, The End of Turmoil. Translator's Corner, Cast, an English clown and a French Pierrot. Clown, first, for those who only follow my translation, for chapter 14 to 17 please refer to links provided on the chapter list page. As appeared in chapter 14, I think, the skill I previously translated as coercion will now be known as intimidation. Other notes. Pierrot, are you going to explain why you fear mimes? Clown, where? Those terrifying creatures, they don't speak, create invisible furniture. They twist reality. I have always viewed them as proof of Descartes' methodic doubt. Pierrot, what? Clown, his famous principle? That the only fact we can be sure of is that we, ourselves, exist. Pierrot, what's the punchline? Clown, there is none. Pierrot, hilarious. Have you ever considered a career as a clown? Clown. Pierrot, never even considered it, huh? Clown, I am a clown. Pierrot, no way. Clowns make people laugh, not report on the situation. Clown, fine. What happens when a frog's car breaks down? It gets towed away. Empowerment Arc. Chapter 18, The End of Turmoil. Now, then. Of course, hitting a cabinet minister is very bad. Of course. Brother, what have you done? So said Kaido, having brought in the soldiers. Never missing a day of service, his earlier absence was surprising. He was so diligent, that even when invited to go drinking, he'd refuse by saying he had duties to attend to. Thus, for an incident to occur while he was on duty, was naturally surprising. They could easily run away, but that would be a poor choice. Humph. Just some light punishment, the idiot who dared being rude to my benefactor Rimuru Dana. He replied while pointing at Minister Bester, who was being nursed by 4 soldiers. Bester, on the other hand, was so shocked and surprised that he couldn't even stand. Blood was dripping from his nose, he glared stupidly at me. Not even in his wildest dreams had he imagined being punched. Thus, he was so surprised, that he probably didn't even feel the pain. Oi oi. Just some light punishment? Making an enemy of the minister is very bad. Kaido muttered with a foreboding sigh. Anyways. I'll have to restrain the people present. He said, and gave his subordinates an order. But, only audible to us, he added. We won't harm you, so please come peacefully. He mumbled. Of course, I had no intention of causing further trouble. Thus, moving towards Mama-san, I handed her 5 gold coins. And, in reply to her surprise, I included the inconvenience fee. I'll be back. Such were my salutations. This is a good shop, and I'd be very upset if I could no longer come here. That is how we were being escorted away by the soldier, aren't we forgetting something? Right. We forgot Gobuta. We didn't bring that idiot to the shop. In any case, that foolish action seems to have earned Kaijin the punishment in the Psychodai hell. I'd thought they'd hang him upside down or something, so this seems bad. Which is why, I wrapped Gobuta up with sticky thread and hung him from the ceiling. Wait. That's heartless. Take me there, too. And though he cried out similar grief-stricken phrases, hoping that we'd listen. But to these words. Idiot. Your actions have their own consequences. If you don't like it, just summon up the rest, Stormfang wolves. We left him with hanging there with, what we thought, was an impossible task. Anyways, the goblins, or rather the hobgoblins, should be fine even if they receive no food or water for a week. Though if the confinement continues any longer, we'll have to break out and save Gobuta. And having so decided, I forgot about him for the time being. My conscience did ask, isn't this too pitiful, but he's a sturdy guy. He'll be fine. So the 5 of us were brought into the royal palace. But I may have exaggerated a bit, we weren't restrained with much force. Felt more like we were coming voluntarily. Well, we're coerced into doing so. As a result, we spent 2 days in prison. Or so I'd like to call it, but we received good food and the room was amicably furnished. All 5 were placed in the same place, so rather than a prison, it was just a big room. Their treatment of us was also relatively pleasant. My short temper got you in this mess, forgive me. Kaijin came over to apologize. However, no one gathered here particularly minded in the first place. Kaijin-san, we're fine. Don't sweat it. Exactly. Don't worry about it, Pops. The 3 seemed to be of the same opinion. That aside, once we're freed, we intend to come along with Kaijin-san. Rimuru Dana, would our presence be a bother? The third also seemed like he wanted to say something, but as I clearly lack the power to understand, I was just happy with the sentiment. Alright. I guess I'll say it again, you'll be in my care. However, I plan to work you hard, so be prepared. Yeah. And, well, that's the kind of discussion we had. The first day had thus passed, and on the second night. Oh, about that cabinet minister, he really seemed to hate Kaijin, didn't he? Is there a reason for that? I nonchalantly asked. But hearing this, Kaijin grimaced, and began his tale. So apparently Kaijin used to be one of the captains of the Royal Knights. That is, There are 7 platoons among the Royal Knights, with each having their own captain. Construction platoon, commoner platoon, emergency relief platoon, heavy armament platoon, magic assault platoon, magic support platoon, and, the most important, the King's personal royal guard. Kaijin served as the captain of the construction platoon. His aide at the time was none other than Bester. That guy was from a family of a marquis, and they say he bought his status with gold. Thus he was jealous of me, who was a commoner born of commoners. Must have been difficult, I imagine. Receiving orders from a mere commoner must have been very disgraceful. I, myself, did not try to be considerate of my subordinates' feelings. I just desperately tried to please His Majesty. And then, that incident occurred. Having so it introduced, he continued to discuss that incident. An incident that resulted in Kaijin leaving the army. Magic battle gear incident. At the time, the construction platoon had no new inventions and was evaluated the worst among the 7 platoons. In a nation founded on technological progress, the construction platoon should be flourishing. So claimed Bester's group. For now, we should carefully continue our research. So claimed Kaijin's group. The arguments fueled further rivalry, and debates never produced any results. At the same time, they did have a joint project with the elves on the magical battle gear. We must succeed with this project and forever establish our name, was what Bester thought. As a result of his independent and rash action, the demonic sorcery corps had gone out of control, and the project halted indefinitely. Had they carefully assembled the most talented group, the Magic Battle Gear project would not have met such an end. In conclusion, Kaijin took the blame, and left the army. As for Bester, he was so desperate to push his failure on Kaijin, that he had forged military records and planted other false evidence. In short, Bester is a stereotypical villain. And in some sense, he's easy to understand. So to summarize, Kaijin was waiting for the time the country would need him and would immediately jump at the opportunity to come back, without realizing that it would cause him harm. That kind of story? But really, wouldn't the death penalty suit cowardly bastards like Bester the best? Well, maybe the death penalty would be going too far. Well, in any case, with my departure, maybe even he can finally relax. Those words ended his tale. After hearing about the incident, the 3 brothers also seem to have started to hate the minister. Well, such a story will make even me hate him. However, he did hit a noble. It would be strange for him to leave without any trouble. And in response to my worries, it should be fine, probably. Although retired, my position as a captain did earn me the rank of baronet. Had it been a case of a commoner hitting a noble, I probably wouldn't be able to avoid the death penalty. Having said that, he laughed loudly. I couldn't laugh at all, though. If worst comes to worst, we're breaking out. As for the completely unrelated person, me, I'll just pretend to be a normal slime until things quiet down. So I silently thought. And, the day of the trial came. We were led before the king. The dwarf's hero king. Though in front of him, you couldn't feel that overpowering aura. The current king, Gazelle Dwargo. With his eyes closed, he sits deeply on the throne. Looking like a typical dwarf, he had a sturdy build. His armor concealed his excessive energy. Though he could easily be distinguished by his darker skin, and jet black hair, swept back. He's strong. Been a while since my instincts last cried out in alarm. To both of his sides, the knights stand at attention. Though I feel that those 2 are strong as well, they seem dull in comparison to the king. As that guy is just a monster. I had planned to run away if needed, but with this. His mere presence forced my distracted mind to focus. This was probably the first time I felt danger in this world. There was one man kneeling before the king as if confirming something. Having received the king's permission, he stood, and the trial shall now begin. Silence your voices. He informed us of its beginning. Taking up an hour, both sides' stories were presented. The parties in question, ourselves, were not permitted to speak. The only ones who could freely speak are nobles ranked count and above. The rest must wait for the king's explicit permission. If I had to speak, what would I say? Speak out of turn, and your guilt shall be confirmed. Moreover, we'll also include a free insult the king special. Even if the charges against you were false, the rules stay the same. No choice but to leave everything to your representative. That representative, these past 2 days, has shown his face many times. If I had to say, he's kind of like our lawyer. I wonder if he's any good? Those kind of worries tend to prove true too often. Thus, in this way, the drunk and relaxed Bastardano, while making his way into another shop, was assaulted. Such action must not be pardoned easily. Is that the truth? I, more than listening to Kaigen Dano, have investigated with the shop owners. All my previous statements are, in fact, completely true. Huh? What did he say? Someone we thought to be our ally had unexpectedly betrayed us? Isn't this bad? When I look at Kaigen's face, it first turned bright red, but slowly paled. Well, that's to be expected. I mean, he can't even complain. Oh, and by the way, the representative is not allowed to lie. If his lies get revealed, he gets the death penalty. So without some extreme circumstances, to lie is unthinkable. Thus the system that forbids those of lower birth, in this case, the accused, to speak in front of the king, is being abused in the worst of ways. Your Majesty, have you heard enough? Please bestow a harsh punishment on them. High with excitement, Bester proposes thus to the king. Moreover, while looking at us, he shows a triumphant smile. That bastard! I really should have clobbered him. The king, with his eyes closed, refuses to move a muscle. Seeing this, those close by announce his decision. Silence. We shall now announce the verdict. Assailant, Kaigen. You are sentenced to 20 years of forced labor in the mines. The rest, accomplices. You are sentenced to 10 years of forced labor in the mines. That concludes this. Wait. A deep, heavy voice resounded through the hall. The king opened his eyes and looked at Kaigen. It's been a while, Kaigen. Are you in good health? More importantly, I am happy to see His Majesty in good health. Thus answered Kaigen. Seems like answering the king's questions is allowed. Enough. Those with you are the real question. Do you have intention of returning to service? The hall immediately filled with noise. Bester's face turned blue. The representative who betrayed us, turned deathly pale. I fear, Your Majesty, I already have a master. That pledge has become this one's treasure. This treasure, even if it be His Majesty's order, I shall never part with. Angry words resounded in return. The royal guard directed their killing intent at Kaigen. Even then, Kaigen faced the king without a hint of fear, but rather with grand price. Seeing this, the king closed his eyes again. Eyes, that's so. Having so muttered, he ordered his attendant to call silence again. And I'll declare the verdict. Steel your hearts. Kaigen and company, I deport you from the kingdom. You shall not be permitted to remain here even a single night longer. That is all. Now, begone from my sight. The king opened his eyes wide and so proclaimed. That's the air of the king. Intimidating enough to make my body tremble. But even so, the king looked rather lonely to me. And thus, with the conclusion of the trial, we returned to Kaigen's store. Just went for a little drink, but it became such an incident. Now then, we need to quickly pack, and set off. And speaking off, is Gobuta all right? Well, only 3 days had passed. With some worry in my heart, we opened the punishment room, and you have returned. Was it fun? Next time, please bring me along. Waking on top of the sofa, Gobuta said these words. What the hell? How did he break free from the sticky thread? If I look closely, what I thought was a pillow is a storm wolf. Really? He really summoned them. Oi, Gobuta-kun. You were able to summon the wolves. Yeah. I was. Please come. I called, and they came. He makes it sound too easy. No hobgoblin had succeeded with summons up until now. Maybe, did nutrient deprivation awaken some latent ability? Nah, no way. That's impossible for Gobuta. Must have been just luck. And, that's when I noticed the petrified dwarf that had finally noticed the wolf. What are you doing? Not going to prepare? I asked the dwarfs. Oi, wait a second. Why is there a black fang wolf in here? That's right. There's a B-rank monster blocking our escape. They seem to be panicking. That was an interesting, a comical reaction. It's fine. No problem. No different from your average dog. I keep him at home. I had intended for those words to calm them, but they were struck speechless instead. Since we have no time, I couldn't waste any of it for explanation. So while having the dwarfs change into traveling gear, I chased the rest out. Remaining in the building, I began to absorb everything. Not even close to full capacity. But, I decided to refrain from absorbing the whole building, as that would probably get me arrested again. Thus, we had finished the preparations for our journey, and thus we headed towards the meeting spot. Militaristic state Dworgen. We'd be involved with it many times from now on. But to us who were escaping from it, that kind of thing we could not even imagine. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, the Storm Crest. Titles, one who commands monsters. Magic, none. Skills, unique skill Great Sage, unique skill Predator, slime-specific skills Dissolve, Absorb, Regenerate, extra skill Water Manipulation, extra skill Magic Perception, acquired skills, Black Serpent Heat Detection, Noxious Breath, Centipede Paralysis Breath, Spider Sticky Thread, Steel Threat, Bat Ultrasound Waves, Lizard Body Armor, Wolf Supreme Sense of Smell, Telepathic Communication, Intimidation, Shadow Step, Black Lightning. Resistances, Thermal Fluctuation Resistance X, Physical Attack Resistance, Pain Resistance, Electricity Resistance, Paralysis Resistance. That place was wrapped in silence. To such extent, that you wouldn't believe it was ever noisy. Since the 5 criminals had been expelled from this hall, not a single person had moved. As if breaking the silence. Now, Bester. Is there anything you'd like to say? With all due respect, Your Majesty. This is a misunderstanding. There must be some mistake. Such was Minister Bester's unsightly appeal, that seemed to want to grab onto the king. In contrast, the king had showed no emotion, and remained stoic. A misunderstand, that would have been losing a faithful minister. What are you saying? I cannot fathom how come you believe that man had sworn his loyalty to Your Majesty. Bester. You are mistaken. The case with Kaijin had been lost long ago. The faithful minister I had lost, is none other than you. A quiet voice revealing no emotion. Whereas Bester shrieked in response. I must come up with an excuse. He frantically thought. But he couldn't form a coherent thought. What had, the king, just said? The one he lost is, me? That means. Bester wanted to come up with something. But no thoughts would form. I'll ask again. Bester. Do you have anything left to say? Frightening. His head was filled with fear. I have to answer his question. He thought, but no words would come out. With all due respect. Enough, I had expected more from you. I always waited. Even for you to come clean on the magical battle gear incident. But, even now, look. The king said, pointing at 2 items. Sometime previously, an attendant had brought them. Bester stared at them with empty eyes. Something he had never seen before, a liquid sphere wrapped in cloth. And a single long sword. Do you know what this is? As he was asked, he carefully observed. The sphere he had not recognized, but the sword was the one that Kaijin always carried. Think. In place of the king, the attendant had explained. Bester's mind would require many more hours to understand the transpired. Not a revival pill, but a restoration pill made from hippocked grass. That of complete restoration. With dwarven technology, the best they could achieve was a purity of 98%. At 98%, it would never have the effect of high-grade medicine. But this was at 99%. Bester's face lit up in surprise. He wanted to know the extraction method. But what should have surprised Bester more was the longsword. The demon ore used in the blades had begun to adapt itself to the user, so was reported. But that's impossible, it normally takes 10 years for that to happen. Bester, in shock, was beset by such thoughts. If that is true, such was the thought that dominated his mind. The one who had produced these items was the slime. Thanks to your efforts, we no longer have a connection to the slime. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Bester knew all too well the depth of the king's anger. There was nothing else he could say. Nothing. I have nothing to say, Your Majesty. Tears welled up within him. I had been abandoned by the king. He finally understood. He had just wanted to be of use to the king. And to be recognized. That was his width, and yet. Since when did he go wrong? Was it when he got jealous of Kaijin? Or was it well before then? That he did not know. All that he knew was that he betrayed the king's expectations. That sole truth. That's so. Then, Bester. You are forbidden from entering the kingdom ever again. Never show yourself before me from now on. However, I'll leave you some parting words. You have served well, . Upon hearing the king's words, Bester responded with a deep bow. And thus left the hall. To repay the foolish act he had committed. At the same time as Bester left, the guards restrained his accomplice, the treacherous representative. That he saw from the corner of his eyes. Spies. Keep watch over the slime. Never let him leave your sight. Ever. The king had raised his voice so to give this order. That usually quiet king, to raise his voice. Everyone tensed at the gravity of the order. Even at the cost of our lives. The spies having so replied, disappeared. The king pondered thus. What was that monster? That was a unique creature. Letting him loose upon the world will probably end our peace. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Intermission Bagworm Gobuta. Hello, it's Gobuta here. Right now, I was punished by Rimuru-sama in a thing referred as Bagworm Hell. Its shape is round and made from thread, and hanged from the ceiling. But, it doesn't make me feel any pain and suffering. Though I cannot tear the thread with force, it's actually quite comfortable. Since the thread can stretch, the body can be moved. But, no matter how violent the thread will not snap, it will only swing back and forth. Noticing about that a while ago, I try to quiet down. So, to leaving someone behind like this is really painful, you know. Rimuru-sama went to the night shop with the others. I think it's awful. I also wanted to go there too. However, it's free time now. Because it's unlikely I can escape from this on my own, I try to get out by summoning my storm-fanged wolf partner for help. But, that is something I cannot do at this moment. Even Captain Riguru cannot do too, it's not an easy thing to do. I guess this is a clever punishment from Rimuru-sama. I think Rimuru-sama was really stingy, I only had a little sleep. But it also same with Captain Riguru and Chief Riguru too, they also furious because the same reason, that the far I can told about the story. Nonetheless, it neither causing pain or discomfort, I can spend the free time without any problem. But say, Rimuru-sama is really kind. I think that the reason why everyone idolized him. Well, I should wait until he come back tomorrow, surely he will let me down. I should patience this night. It's strange. The day has passed overnight, but Rimuru-sama and others isn't come back yet. Did something happen? Although, maybe they just spend the night at somewhere else after walking around. Honestly, my stomach hungry, I wish they come back soon. It's dangerous. After the third day, Rimuru-sama and the others still hadn't come back. I worry about them. But, it's not the time to worrying about the others. Now, right now. I myself was facing a pinch. Hunger is troublesome, but there are more serious and important problem that going on. Pai Gorogorogoro. My stomach hurts. I continued endure my wish to pee, but something larger has come. His mental strength was trained to the limit by receiving multiple large and small attacks. Moreover, on the room he was hanged, on the parlor floor was laid carpet. It was better if the room floor was stone. Surely if I defile the carpet, the dwarf Kaijin-san will got mad. Rimuru-sama up until now say things such as toilet and bath is unnecessary, like he don't really care about it. Probably he will not mad if I defile the room. Perhaps, now, it had become a very critical situation. Well, should I do something? Wait. Dangerous. When I wriggle my body around while trying to endure, the movement was transmitted to the thread, making it swaying back and forth. In this situation, it's just a matter of time before the catastrophe occurs. It's impossible to cut the thread. It's also unlikely that Rimuru-sama and the others will come back. Karaye. It is irritating to doing nothing. From a while ago greasy sweat has flowing without stopping, my eyes became hazy. There is no more way to escape from here. I unleashed all I can do and give up. No, wait. Thinking about it. For me that already given up, I remember the voice from the heaven. If you don't like it, go ask for help and summon your partner or something. Certainly, Rimuru-sama had said so. I tried it to summon again. Surprisingly, my summon partner immediately came. Partner, you had come. If you don't come earlier, it will become a serious problem. While thought that in my mind, I was puzzled because the storm-fanged wolf that I didn't feels any reaction up until now had came forth to me. Which he doesn't really understand. But because the desperate call comes, my sense finally comes back after the third time leak. The call keep growing. After all I goes through today, the mental strength that trained to the limit was at the edge. After a successful summoning at the last minute, I was carried by my partner to toilet. But all the exhaustion had gone released along the secret. Fortunately, because Rimuru-sama and the other were back a few days later, any traces was wiped and concealed to the end. Because I had succeeded summoning my partner, it's make him very surprised about it, making my mind clear a little. Needless to say, there is not any reason to tell anyone about the thing I have done, so I don't need to worry. That's why, I gonna bring the secret even to the grave. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 19, Return to the Village. We were joined by Raguru and the others at the entrance of the forest. A total of 5 days were spent on the journey. But, it's still within my estimate. Although we met many problems along the way, the main purpose of the journey was achieved. On that note, I didn't see an adventurers guild in that city. Shame. I wanted to take a look at the Freedom Association. Wanted to see if any of their members are world travelers, but I doubt there are. Also, the incident in the Dwarf Kingdom has sadly prevented me from further research on handiwork and armor. Well, it can't be helped. But, I was satisfied with my new comrades. And, we earned 20 gold coins. Really struck gold right there, literally. I introduced Kaijin's group to Raguru and the rest, and they exchanged greetings. Since they'll be working together from now on, I want them to get along. Come to think of it, the dwarfs seem less prone to discrimination. Perhaps it has to do with the fact that they are, themselves, a half-magical race. Well, there was a problem in the beginning of our return to the village. Ranga was waving his tail happily around me. However, when I told him to carry 2 of the 3 brothers, his joyful expression quickly turned sour, and he took a step back. Then, while staring at the duo, he added, "Will it be worse off if those 2 idiots get left behind?" With a look full of intent to swallow them whole. Which, of course, terrified the dwarfs. To begin with, when they first saw Ranga. Gee! What is that? That's how surprised they were. Was that the start of one of their performances? I don't really get it, but maybe there is something amusing about it. Wait, Ranga. I'm just planning to mimic the black wolf to check its abilities. That's why I want to leave the 2 dwarves to you. Hearing my words, he stood upright as if at attention, and acknowledged, "My lord." And he thus consented. Kaijin and the eldest brother Garm will get on my back. The middle brother Dold and the youngest Mildo are on Ranga's. To ensure their safety, I tied them to Ranga with sticky thread. After all, in a world with no motorcycles, traveling at 80 kilometers per hour would certainly be a terrifying experience. I don't know if it's possible to run that fast, and I don't have any intention to be going that fast. Next, it's my turn. Mimicry, Black Storm Star Wolf, Tempest Starred Wolf. As the mimicry finished, I transformed. Amazing. As expected of Master. Foo ha ha. Even so. Worked hard to evolve into this form. I responded to Ranga with praise. I will strive to live up to your expectations. With a new goal in mind, Ranga's eyes were shining bright. The other storm-fanged wolves were all just as excited. Everyone being motivated is surely a good thing. Then, I glance over to Kaijin's group. There's foam coming out of their mouth. They fainted? That old man, what the hell they doing? Oh well. Time to put my daily practice to use. I use sticky thread on my back. I slowly manipulate the thread to tie up Kaijin's group, and, success. This way, we can continue carrying Kaijin's group even while they're fainted. Thus, we depart. As a side note, I think it's a good thing that Kaijin's group had fainted. If we don't take this slowly, at a speed of 100 km per hour, they could faint from the initial acceleration. The two siblings on Ranga's back, Mildo and Dold, however, seem to endure well. Never mind. That's the rumored, fainting with your eyes open, skill, huh. I offer my condolences. The return journey was going smoothly, primarily because the dwarves had fainted. It's probably better for them to faint instead of biting their tongues. In fact, imagine yourself in their position. Wouldn't it be unpleasant to wake up to another terrifying experience? Instead, isn't it best to let them sleep with those happy faces? Well, I'll wake them up for meals. I know, I'm a bad person, lol. Come to think of it. Oi, Raguru. Have you succeeded at summoning your black wolf yet? Although it brings me great shame, there has been no progress. Famu. Even Raguru can't do it. The other goblins are also frustrated, the wolves, as well. So, only Gobuta? So only that Gobuta succeeded. What? Gobuta, is that true? Yes. I called and he came. Hearing those words, the other goblins and Black Wolf's eyes lit up in determination. But, that can't be. Gobuta is the kind of guy to walk to and from the Dwarf Kingdom on foot. Come to think of it, he's right. You'd think he's just a fool. But, I guess he's the type of guy that can do it when it matters. Well, Gobuta is a fool, but that certainly doesn't mean he's incompetent. Come to think of it, he made a 4-month journey on foot alone while scavenging for food. If he were weak, I doubt he could have done it. Thus, my mental evaluation of Gobuta rose. Well, sooner or later it will drop. When the night comes, we take a break. I'm not tired at all, but the others need a break. While everyone rests, I'll try out some abilities. The physical abilities of the Black Storm Star Wolf, Tempest Star Wolf, are really high. I could feel the power gushing out. When I kick the ground lightly, I instantly leap into the air, and gallop through the air. Combined with my reaction speed, I can probably bring out its full potential. To begin with, most of my battles to date ended with Water Blade, and the enemy were decapitated. Since strength and agility are important factors in a fight, this is a pretty good development. Enough to say that I am satisfied the Tempest Star Wolf's combat ability. From what I imitated with Great Sage, while mimicking the Black Wolf, I can instantly kill the Black Snake. Without any special abilities. I received an explanation on ranks in the town. The Lizard was a rank B-. Via the simulation ability of the Great Sage, one could approximate the rank of other monsters. The Black Snake would never reach a rank, but, being able to defeat 10 centipedes, one could rank it as A-. Similarly, a normal not mimicked Black Storm Star Wolf is stronger than a Black Snake, but a fight against 10 of them would be impossible. No, wait, there's that ominous Black Lightning skill. My instincts scream that it's dangerous. And yet, I return to being a slime, and try it out. The result. Pikatsu. Chodo-en. Fufufu. My test target, a big boulder on the riverside, crumbled to dust. Thus, I judged that I should absolutely never use this skill again. So, I didn't do anything. A lightning just hit there for no reason. Let's go with that. There was another such skill, the black snake noxious breath. I shall also seal it. At least, until I can properly adjust the output. Especially since it uses a lot of magic power. And, if not adjusted carefully, there's a high chance of hitting friendly. That is, more than its power, the range was also phenomenal. Surrounding the boulder, an area of about 20 meters, 65 feet, was turned into glass by the temperature. Raguru and others rushed over asking if anything was wrong. Wow, a lightning hit right in front of me. How surprising. Is how I deceived them. Seems like the lightning disturbed their rest, making me feel guilty. From now on, any dangerous experiments must be carried out in some secret location. Oh well, I got the data. The simulation in my brain resumed. With black lightning, even if it is not my version of it, the black wolf can probably win against 10 black snakes. Thus, it may actually be the case that the black storm star wolf, tempest star wolf, holds power beyond that of an orang. Orang monsters, by themselves, can devastate a small city and are thus appointed disaster level. Therefore, I should refrain from mimicking the black wolf near a city. And thus, my research continues till dawn. The next morning, the dwarves wake up with their faces still pale. Are they okay? Are you guys okay? Where are we? As their consciousness become clearer, they were puzzled due to the unfamiliar scenery around them. I immediately tell them that we were traveling towards the goblin village. What did you say? For a 2-month journey like this, we need to procure a carriage and food from some nearby town. Well, it's far too late to be surprised. What to say, let's ignore it. Well, if think about it. It's hard for a normal person to understand the distance we had already traveled. We aren't in a rush. So, I take the time to explain our situation to the dwarves. As for Raguru and group, they are making food. Goblins cook in one way, they roast. That's fine for now. I have no taste buds, after all. However, when I do obtain them, I should beat good cooking techniques into them. Can the goblins get used to cultured life? Whether it will happen or not, I do not know. But, I plan to try out various ideas. It'd be bad if they can't properly cook. While eating breakfast, we discussed future plans. I explained to them that we were bound to arrive at the village in 2 days. Impossible. The dwarfs was not convinced. Thus, we resumed our journey. Along the way, we conversed using thought transmission. The dwarfs can also use it, which saves us some trouble. Thought transmission is an improvement over basic telepathy, as it is stronger, allows a larger network, can be used during other maneuvers, and has range of about 1 kilometer. On the second sprint, the dwarfs cling to our backs without fainting. Seems like they properly prepared themselves beforehand. Since the wind pressure forced them to keep their eyes closed, I made a thin membrane with my thread to protect their eyes. Surprisingly, it works. I can finally manipulate it to some extent with just thought. This much is possible when you get used to manipulating magic essence. While moving on the road, I ask the dwarfs to teach us about some common knowledge. While the dwarf talking, the goblins excitedly listens. Then, we adding our common knowledge from what we hear, then the conversation turns lively. I feel relieved because they become more familiar with each other. In this state, they will get along just fine in the village. The dwarf or the goblin, the origin is same. The long-lived half-fairy dwarf. The short-lived half-demon goblin. The difference was only in the course of evolution. But, the goblins rather said it evolution, would it be degenerate? In other words, the goblin can be said to be the monster version of the dwarf. The goblin can evolve to hobgoblin, but after evolution, it seems it extend the lifespan. Well, it not just that, but that was one of the differences between demon race and fairy race. Even in the same half-fairy races, dwarfs are closer to the demons rather than the elves. Maybe that's the reason, they able become accustomed without discomfort with others once they gets used to it. Having suddenly remembered something, I decided to ask. Kaijin, I know it's already too late to ask, but is it okay? To have said those things to the Dwarf King, didn't you admire him? Oh, about that. I do admire him. There isn't a single dwarf who doesn't. Who wouldn't admire a hero king that looks like he had come out of some fairy tale? Certainly. Heroes from fairy tales come out only in bedtime stories. This hero, however, is alive and well, supporting and protecting his people as their king. Thus, it is exactly as he said, everyone respects and admires him, and everyone would surely want to be useful to such a king. Do I have the resolution to do the same? I became the Goblins' master by pure chance. But, how should I proceed from now on? It's fine. No doubt about it. That's the kind of myself that I wished to become. Hey, Kaijin. Why have you decided to follow me? If you think about it, isn't it far better for you to return to the king's service? Upon hearing this question, this is how Kaijin answered. Gahahaha. Dana, TL note, can mean master, but I left it in Ramaji, is surprisingly tactful. Why? Because it seemed interesting. That's what my instincts told me. This guy can do anything. And that was it. Don't you think it's a fine reason? A fine reason, huh? No doubt about it. Fumu, you better not complain later. I was famous for working my subordinates hard, you know. Anyways, when there's something I can't do, I want others to help me, I want to rely on others. But, if you need my help, I'll see it through. Even if it was hard, this is what I truly desire inside. I know. I nodded with satisfaction at his response. 2 days later, we arrived at the village. Our objective was achieved, we returned to the village. Author's note, since there was no change in the status, I removed it. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 20, Toward the Village's Revival. Toward the Village's Revival. We finally arrived at the Goblin Village. We left the village only 2 weeks ago, but I feel somewhat nostalgic. Well, rather than calling it a village, it was just a square surrounded by fences. While we were out on the journey, what's left was just some small tent for living. The center of the village is marked by the bonfire. I noticed a big pot placed there. Roasting. It was the only cooking method before. It seems they improved. What an impressive progress. That pot over there, if you look at it closely, from its appearance it was made from shell of a okame, big turtle. How far did they expand their hunting range? Well, it seems they did not get attacked from other monsters. I feel relieved. Immediately after entering the village, the hobgoblin villagers noticed us. We were greeted by cheers. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any souvenirs. Oh well, it seemed there many fur, etc. from monsters they hunted. I'm sure the dwarves can turn them to clothes right away. Eventually, I want the goblins to be able to make it themselves. Now, to introduce the dwarves, I attempt to find Rigurido so he can gather everyone. It seems it's not needed. Rigurido came running. But, he had a troubled face. What had happened? I tried to think the answer of my question. Welcome back. I'm sorry I didn't greet you earlier when you came back, but Rimuru-sama, there are guests. Even if he tired, he still feel obliged to greet me. I feel sorry. Guests? Someone I knew? Anyway, are the dwarves free in the village? I think they start inspecting around. The equipment I bought was stored in a vacant tent. I leave the care of the dwarves to Riguru. I was guided to the place where the guests were waiting. Rigurido guided me into a large tent. Who is it? Well, when we meet, I will know. Thinking that, I enter the tent. I was surprised when I saw what was under the entrance of the tent. Over there, there are several goblin. Some were well dressed with several others that accompany them. Chiefs, and they escorts. Why they did carry any weapons? Even thought I don't see any problem. When I was perplexed, the goblins were all suddenly dogza, prostrate/kneeling. We greet you, O strong one. Can you please hear our humble request? They speak all at once. Strong one? It exaggerated, but are they referring to me? I discerning them all, they're saying with serious tone and their eyes were all serious, I knew those eyes. What are they expecting from me? I thought so. Famu, I'll hear. I decided to hear their story. Then. Ah. We are really grateful. Our request is, we want to ask you so we can serve under you. One of them answered as the representative. The other all nodded in agreement. They asked with hope-filled eyes. Please take care of us. They deeply beg. Honestly, I thought it was troublesome. Right now, it's time for the village revival. I don't have time to spare for you guys. Although I want to say the otherwise, the fact is the people on this village just a few. Anyway, I predicted there will be turf wars going around here. I think it's okay to accept them in. Right now it's okay, but what if they'll betray us later? Although I'm a bit worried about it, if that happen I will exterminate all of them. I do not forgive betrayal. To lead monsters, wishful thinking will only get in the way. Everything must be dealt cold-headed. I order to determine my resolution, is to accept those guys. I assured myself again. Once these guys betray me, I will kill these guys. But, now that I think about it, how can I easily think of killing someone? I'm surprised by myself. Oh well, it better to worry about it later. By the way, it seems those guys are only your representatives. How many people do they have? To think about it, I must come up with names to give to all these guys all by myself. I let out a sigh. Each one of the goblins went back to their own village to bring home the news. Well then, I hear the story from the remaining delegates. Listening to the story, I summarize the contents. First, the cause that began to disturb the order in the forest. During the raid of Fanged Wolf Clan, the village of Rigurido and others was abandoned. The cause was they could not afford to offer any warriors. The orc race, the lizardman race, and ogre race. It was some of the monsters with intelligence in this forest. They began to move in order to dominate the forest. Even until now, they had skirmish, but they are in tacit agreement so it did not lead into armed clash. However, that is in response to the situation where the Lord of the Forest is gone. So far it seems the move to clear away their old resentment. Originally, monster had a nature that likes to show off their power. Therefore, to clear away the accumulated resentment, each race prepared to move out. The goblin race is just a weak race, their presence is only for being trampled by them. Each chief, goblin, was in panic. In this state, they will be ruined by involved in the fight. During the chief meeting, they carried out discussions every day, but they aren't very intellect. The discussion ended without resulting with any solution. Meanwhile, the news of the attack from Fanged Wolf Clan was received, well not far from it. Therefore, Rigurido's village was forgotten. However, around the time the food stocks become scarce, there came a bad news. It was reported that a new threat in the forest has appeared. The rumor was about the black beasts and their riders. Those riders are running within the forest just like it was in plains. They hunted powerful monsters in the forest. When they received the report, they all were astonished. Who are those riders? Apparently, that what it looked like for those goblins. In response of this report, opinion was divided. The first opinion claims that, any day now, those riders will take them under their protection. The second opinion claims that, it's too suspicious. It must be so kind of trap. The ones who said it's a trap, there is no reason to bring us into a trap. They didn't listen when being persuaded. In addition, even if it's not a trap, it isn't necessary for us to accept. Without intellect only sadness, the words for conclusion can't come out. Therefore, they select a person as representative to ask for asylum. They told me that was the reason why they went to this place. I understand. Well, it was a good story from a small fries, bug. However, even if the goblins are small, weak, and lack intellect, there will be no one willing to help them. Either way, I decided to accept their request. But only those willing to come here. I told this to the representative of the goblins. Hearing my word, those goblins went back to their own villages. For now on there is a problem. I think that after looking at the goblins that came here. Isn't that A little too much? In the village's space, there are only a few accommodations. Or rather, why I must be worried for such a thing. For a few days, several axes were created. The newly created axes were used to cut trees, the collected timber was going to be processed, and would be used later to build housing. I leave the charge of the timber-related things to Kaijin. The three dwarf brothers diligently processed the fur, to make clothes for Hobgoblin. The three dwarf brothers as usual looked at the women, Goburina, with sharp eye. It might be good, if they finish it quickly. At the time I told them to hurry their works, goblins came. From the four clans, collectively there is about 500 people. The rest of it, the opposing faction stayed at the villages. They choose to stay. But right now the works is still not done. That's what I thought. I then check mind map. I'm looking for suitable location near water source so I can open farmland. I walked to the nearest place that meets my condition. The place is in the vicinity of the cave from beginning. Famu. I called Rigurido, asking about the situation around that area. Around there was non-aggression territory. Because unlike in the forest, inside the cave, there is a nest of powerful monsters. Ah, there will be no problem. I used to live over there. Wah. Is that true? No, I was born over there so it okay, there will be no problem at all. As I expected, Digozaime Suene. This Rigurido, truly admire you. Is it really great? I was just born in that cave, why does he have to be impressed with that? Well, as long as he's satisfied. Immediately, I went to talk with the youngest brother from the three brothers, Mildo, who had architectural related knowledge. I and Mildo are consulting about various things. I told Mildo any knowledge I had related for various constructions from my previous life that I could remember. The current technology in this world, it measured it is on decent level with magic intertwined together. In addition of my knowledge I plan to measure and survey the local area. I want to make some of kind treatment facilities for excrement which was necessary for goblins and dwarves. But it's not necessary for the black wolves. Anyway, you can make an underground sewer, or fermenting the excrement I thought it good as fertilizer. But when seen from sanitation side, it was common sense that it would easy for it to become the source of infection for infectious disease. That was what Mildo said to me. Well, can monster like goblins become sick? It's what I thought, but it seems it normal for getting epidemic. It's fate of weak monsters. Well, if it's because poor sanitation, they would surely become sick. In case of the goblins, the number of birth exceed the number that die because the strong fertility, it seems it possible to maintain the numbers. But, by evolving, it seems the fertility had depleted. In exchange for that, it seems the lifespan extended. Mildo was well informed. Though he didn't knew much in topics related to processing the excrement. I confirmed that there was only a few world travelers in this world. In this world, had its own unique knowledge about spirit engineering. I heard it's mysterious and there weren't many explanations about it. Because there weren't many details known regarding the benefit of the excrement, he was surprised when listening to my story. Thus, the conclusion of the meeting, Mildo was appointed as the captain of the construction team. I let him take care of things that were his specialty. To Rigurido, I instructed him to assign some people under Mildo, to go survey the project site. Ranga also accompanied them just in case. I think the monsters from the cave will not go out, but there is a possibility. If that happen I'm sure Ranga can take care of it. Thus, Mildo and others, the construction team departed. The next was, naming. The though is too depressing. To give name one by one for all 500 people. Any longer, I think it would turn to the forbidden ABCD. But I don't like to do something half-hearted. Immediately, I started giving them names. Again, I went to low activity state after giving them all names, but I was able to give name to everyone. The fatigue was less than the previous naming, it is something that you do not want to do again. I summon the chieftains. They all kneeling in front of me, were the evolved chieftains. Led by Rigurido, 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 Rogurido. Obvious, side by side. It's Rariru Riro. Coincidentally, Ra became Ranga. I think it all appropriate, so it's okay. There is no one that object. I thought it in frantic. I forget about the name's appeal. I will work very hard. It was one of a good man appeal. The one that are left over was a female. It's possible to determine the gender of goblins, but it hardly shows in the appearance. But when they evolve the differences is recognizable. I thought some feminine name, like Ryrina. In the future, I wonder if this name can become series or not. Although such idea crossed in my mind, I decided to against such thought. It's not needed right now. Well, in front of me the hobgoblins. I wonder if they capable with hierarchical relationship or not. Everyone is friends, everyone is equal. Those things were impossible in real life. In particular, for monsters that emphasizes on power. A clear chain of command was necessary. I decided. Listen, I bestow to you guys this positions. It was declared. Rigurido was promoted to Goblin King. And, the remaining chieftains become Goblin Lord. In the surroundings, all of the goblins in the village prostrate themselves. I gulped my own saliva when watching such spectacle. Wa-ha-eh. We humbly receive your order. With that word as the signal, thunderous cheer rose up. A new history for Goblin has begun. For crafting tools, Kaijin had prepared it. Fur clothes, under the command of Garm and Dold, had been produced steadily. For timber, it steadily provides the village with vacant land. By the time it was confirmed that all of the goblins had evolved, the planned construction for the new village began after Mildo came back after the survey. All were well. I checked the construction area for the new village. From its scale, it should be called town rather than a village. Our new home. After confirming all the preparations and equipment, we all departed. Towards the new place, step forward. For our first step to create a new country. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.